Evening, everybody. Welcome back to Dyer's Place. And a bit of a first tonight. We actually have 4, including myself and Mike. Yeah, this is a regular roundtable at this point.
Yeah, pretty much.
So, well, everybody knows Mike, and you may have seen in the past, Kate and Jay have both been on, various roundtables we've had here before. Hey, Kate.
Hello.
And hey, Jay.
Jay, there, are you still muted?
I thought I unmuted.
Yeah,
My bad.
Oh, okay.
I pressed the unmute button on my mic, but not on Discord. So my apologies.
This thing cap in $8.
Yeah, exactly. So, as you can tell, tonight we are doing an anime stream. Now, we're going to wait for a few more people to trickle in. Anyone else is here and wants to say hi, go right ahead. And let us know how we sound and, all that good stuff. But until that happens, we take a look at the background up here. I wanted to kind of represent all the anime we've talked about in our planning for this, or at least a good chunk of it. So, that said, Mike, who is your avatar?
That would be Vash the Stampede, protagonist of Yasuhiro Naito's seminal manga and anime Trigun, which rose to prominence in the late 90s and has been very popular, not just for its overall visual flair, but for some very interesting themes as well. Our friend Sam actually interprets some tenets of Christianity in it, but not stupidly. That I don't know. I don't know how better to put that.
Well, what I'm taking away from it is the series in which Vash eats a donut.
Donuts are his favorite food, yes. It's like it's like there's a sort of attribution that he's like this super stoic badass, guns everyone down, but no, he's the most pacifistic, nicest son of a bitch ever, and the series is about basically trying to get him to not be that, but it's just a very interesting ride. I only finally viewed it a few months ago in full, and it was some great stuff. It actually kind of made me realize, oh no, wait, I think I might like anime after all, after a stupid period of being a little bit of a hater, but I can elaborate on that later.
All right, and Kate, who is that your avatar is?
So my avatar is Sakura Kinomoto. She is the protagonist of my favorite anime series of all time, Cardcaptor Sakura. It's a magical girl series by Clamp, who have done other series such as X and Magic Knight Rayearth. And Cardcaptor Sakura was not the first anime I got into by any means, but it was a very early thing that I really got into. I think I was like 10 when I discovered it, and it made a big impression on me. And I think the main character, Sakura herself, is really cool. And yeah, it's my favorite series and one of my favorite characters, so I really adore Cardcaptor Sakura.
Nice.
Red. Remind me, was Full Metal Panic also a series by Clamp?
No, that is a series that I enjoy, but Full Metal Panic is a different thing.
Gotcha.
Full Metal Panic has actually been worked on by like several different animation houses for whatever reason. It's got kind of a complicated history in that regard.
Damn.
But Cardcaptor Sakura was animated by Madhouse, who also did stuff like Devil Hunter Yoko. And also, as it turns out, the animation for the cutscenes in games like Ernest Evans.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Devil Hunter Yoko. That was one I totally forgot about when I was putting the Roundtable, the background together.
Yeah,
whoopsies.
That either.
I couldn't fit everyone. Couldn't fit everyone in there, you know.
Oh, there's just too many.
Yeah. So, Jay, I think you may have the most recognizable one here.
Yeah, that would be Ranma from Ranma 1. Is actually my number one anime series of all time as well. It is an anime that is so close to my heart, mostly because it is the anime that I showed to my family members that are non-anime fans. Love the show, so that actually was the gateway to anime for them. So it wasn't the first anime that I've ever watched. That would be technically the shows like Robotech and Voltron and things like that. But I only found out years later. Would have been Vampire Hunter D, the one that is yours. From,
yes, I do have a tendency to go a bit darker with my stuff, and
which is all good, and it's amazing when.
Oh yeah, when I first saw D, I was like, okay, this is one of the coolest things I've ever seen. And then later to find out it was partially an inspiration for Castlevania too. It was just sold me on it even more. So, but yeah, speaking of the background here, obviously we've got a ton of anime references as interpreted through video games. So if you look up top, you got Astro Boy holding the whole thing up, or Tetsuan Atom, pardon me. And, of course, the man with the custom M16 over there on the right hand, which would be Golgo 13.
Duke.
Yep, Duke Togo. And right below that, you've got a Gundam. And there in the center would be the emblem of Shin Kazama from Area 88. That'd be the unicorn with the flaming mane. No problem. I still find it hard to believe that was Capcom's only shooter on the Super NES.
A lot of fun.
Look, it was? Wow, I guess you're right.
And it was one of the first 3 releases they did, which makes it even wackier.
What were the other 2? I'm just curious.
Let's see. Final Fight and Super Ghouls and Ghosts.
I was going to say, is one of them that bad Final Fight port?
Yeah, the rushed one.
And we're making this into a game stream. I'll shut up now.
Well, over there, actually, on the left, standing on my avatar, would be Mazinger Z. That's one of the earliest ones I ever remember seeing because it aired over here in the U.S. as Tranzor Z.
Oh, right.
And I used to watch that religiously. And then...
Nice. Yeah. Didn't it make a guest appearance on Simpsons at one time that won a show from Who Shot Mr. Burns Part 2? You know, Pardon My Zinger?
Yeah.
Womp, womp. That deserved the non-soundboard sound effect.
That was absolutely terrible and semi-obscure even for Simpsons references, so...
yeah.
I don't know why my mind brought it up. I'm a weirdo. That's all there is to it.
I'll give it a clap. Don't worry.
Well, then if you start below... Yeah, there you go, Mike. And if you start below my avatar, you've got Kujaku from the series Kujakuo. And right next to him is Mikami from Ghost Reaper Mikami. And then you have a Veritech fighter from Macross, which is over here known as Robotech. Next to that would be Kenshiro from Hokuto no Ken, aka Fist of the North Star. And then a little standoff going on between Lupin III and Hyper Iria, which is the only one I'm not really all that familiar with out of all this.
I streamed that a few weeks ago. Fun game. Very fun game.
I missed that completely.
Nice.
So, but yeah, that's the background. For anyone who's here listening, I hope you're enjoying this. Whoever's here.
Hey, Snarb.
Snarb's here.
Snarb.
All right.
Ah, good. Hey, what up, sir?
We were getting worried there.
Yeah. Hey, maybe anime's just not popular anymore. No, I just.
It's me, a Snarbu.
I want to compliment your title, having the kanji there as well.
Yeah, thanks.
That's amazing.
What is that from, anyway?
What, the title of the stream?
Yeah. Is that actually something, or did you just string a bunch of random kanji together?
No,
I
actually,
thought it was the Anime Roundtable.
it does.
Oh.
It says Anime Roundtable.
Well, cool then.
I just ran it through Google Translate. But if you look at the video description,
that's awesome.
if you look at the video description, on the other hand, you'll see something else at the beginning of the actual description of the stream.
Hmm.
There's some kanji there as well.
Oh yeah, what does that mean then?
Well, I don't recall how it's pronounced in Japanese, but I can tell you what it says in English. You were already dead.
Ome wa shinderu. Or however that's pronounced.
Exactly.
Omae wa mou shinderu.
That's it.
Yep. That's probably more accurate.
Yeah.
I gotta say, for what it's worth, having seen Fist of the North Star, the American dub, and playing several of the games based on it, it's always fun when he says that, because next thing you know, his opponent explodes in a shower of blood.
Mm-hmm. You know it.
Think your
I've
goodbye
been
show because you already bragged. Snarb.
Get one snarb.
I've been meaning to
Brilliant.
get back into studying Japanese. It's been over a decade since I last seriously did so I've forgotten like all kanji characters.
I'm
Uh,
sure you've forgotten more than I've ever learned, so I'm sure I'll
More
be
than
able
likely.
to pick it up.
Maybe.
I can pick a few titles out if I see them, but that's about it.
Mm.
Like the kanji for Gradius,
Nice.
and I think Splatterhouse too. Anyway, though, but yes, anime. It's something we've all seen, something we've all enjoyed at various points in the past 30, 40 years. If you wanted to go through a potted history of the stuff, America first got, real exposure to anime in the 60s with stuff like Kimba the White Lion and Gigantor and eventually Speed Racer. Here comes Speed Racer. He's a demon on wheels.
Hey, Sharon.
Hey, Sharon.
Ah, yes, the
Hey,
person,
Sharon, what's up?
the person who's just gonna kind of tune us out while she's coloring because she doesn't really care for anime.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
There are some people who are not huge fans, and that is perfectly acceptable. Like I said, I went through a bit of a period of being a hater myself, but
Well, I don't think it's that she hates it. I think it's just she hasn't really watched it.
okay, well, that's valid too.
I mean, I think she's seen The
Oh.
Cat Returns. That's about it.
Camera turn. Which
No.
one's that again?
The Cat Returns?
Oh, the cat returns. I thought
Yeah.
you said as the camera turns.
I heard camera as well.
So like
So
the
did I, but I
sands
think-
through the hourglass as the camera turns. Hey, The Cat Returns was a fun little movie, though.
Yeah, I remember that you had an avatar from that on a certain place that for a while, but I don't think I know much about it aside.
Well, I've seen it several times. I don't think I've ever watched it in the original Japanese, but I have seen the English dub, which has a lot of good, voice actors in it. I mean, Cary Elwes, Peter Boyle, Elliot Gould, and
Shit.
I forget. Oh, Tim Curry's in it.
Always a good thing.
Wow.
Freaking Odo from DS9,
How do you pronounce his name? Rene Auberjonois?
something like
I
that.
believe so.
And I think Andy Richter's in it. And who the heck is it who plays the main character? I can't think of her name.
That's ironic.
So let's find out.
Well, I can look that up for you. Let's see who gets to it first. Oh, it was
I have
apparently
yet to
young
watch
Anne Hathaway, as it were.
Yep, that's it.
Ah,
There also has some great lines in that too, at least in the English dub. Like when Haru, that's her name, when she gets kidnapped by the cats, is just as the Baron was about to make tea, and he's just like, "Skip the tea." And they take off chasing her. And when they're trying to climb the tower at the end to get back to the portal that leads them out of the Cat Kingdom back to the Earth world, and the king of the cats, who's played by Tim Curry, wants to blow up the tower and bring him back down. But yeah, Odo there plays his advisor or whatever he is. He's like, "Give me the detonator," so I won't do it. And then the Andy Richter cat pops up. "Look what I found!" And he takes it, and then Tim Curry's like, "Bye bye, tower." Boom. And also finding out that Peter Boyle's character was a legendary cat who invaded the Cat Kingdom and ate all the fish in the lagoon and all the other food he could get his hands on. Really, Buddha. Yeah, but yeah, I like Studio Ghibli anyway.
good company.
Oh, yeah. Ever since first seeing, what was it that I saw first by them? Might have been Kiki's Delivery Service.
That's a good one.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't think I'd enjoy a story about a teenage witch going out to try and find her place in the world, but it actually ended up being really good.
Yeah, it's very endearing too, I find.
And again, having only seen the English dub, at least in the original Disney version, Phil Hartman does the voice of Gigi the cat. The late, great Phil Hartman. Kiki, just how high up do you plan to go? As high as we need to. Why? Well, in case you haven't noticed, there's an airplane beneath us.
His line delivery in that movie.
Yeah. And the one, when my girls were little, they quote this bit all the time. It's like when Gigi sees the girl cat that lives next door, and he's like, "Oh, hello, kitty." And she just looks at him and turns up her nose and kind of gets this disgruntled look on his face. And, "Pardon me, Miss Snooty Cat." Yeah, it was a fun movie. But
It's a nice way to get into Studio Ghibli's work. Nice start.
well, I can tell you, that's my girls were first introduced to anime through Ghibli because I bought them copies of My Neighbor Totoro, Kiki's Delivery Service, Spirited Away, and a few others as time went on. In fact, if my either my oldest or my middle child were here now, they'd be able to wax nostalgic about all this. In fact, my is Hello Kitty and anime.
I think there are anime series that are based on it, at least.
Yeah, I think so too. I remember seeing a claymation one based on it or something like that. Something the girls
I
rented.
once, a few years ago, watched a series called Sanrio Boys, which was about a bunch of high school age guys who are like struggling to admit their interest in Sanrio characters.
Actually,
It
sounds
was kind of cute.
There's the Meiji Shrine and the Hello Kitty Factory.
Jesus.
Anyway, though, like to this day, my oldest favorite movie, or at least her favorite anime, is Howl's Moving Castle.
So good.
That's one I don't personally have, but I enjoyed it. I will say not everything Ghibli has been a hit with me, though. I remember seeing Princess Mononoke, and I was kind of underwhelmed.
For some reason, I keep hearing Mononoke is like the one that no one loves, which I don't get it. I thought it was all right when I saw it however many years ago, although I guess I don't remember much.
I mean, it was okay,
Honestly,
don't get me wrong.
I'm not a huge Ghibli fan, but of the ones that I've seen, I would say Mononoke is one of the ones that I like more.
I'm actually going to have to side with Kate on this one. I hate to be that guy, but I'm also not a huge Ghibli person.
That guy.
What was that? Sorry.
That guy. You are.
Oh, yeah.
So
Hey, Bender, look, it's that guy you are.
Well, since you are that guy, we're going to have to nominate you to run Planet Express because, you know about business and stuff, and also you have a tie.
Don't you worry about Studio Ghibli. Let me worry about blank.
Exactly. I don't know. Maybe I'd have to give Mononoke another watch.
It's feasible, but if it doesn't take, it doesn't take.
Wow.
I guess it would be more accurate to say I'm not a huge fan of Hayao Miyazaki, rather than Ghibli as a whole, because, and already to throw this wrench in, I actually finally saw Grave of the Fireflies last year.
I knew it was coming.
And it actually wasn't as depressing as I thought it would be, and I ended up actually enjoying it in a rather sordid way. I mean, it's not a good time. It's really fucking not a feel-good movie of the year, but I thought there was an odd sort of beauty to it in a sort of strange kind of way.
There is, actually.
Grave of the Fireflies is my favorite Ghibli movie.
That movie.
All things considered, I think I would say that too. This has made me resolve to check out more works of its director, Isao Takahata, which I do want to see the one with the tanuki with the giant balls. That one looks like a fun time.
And then there's My Neighbors, the Amadas, too.
Yes, that was also him, the Princess Kaguya, and I forget, what was the other one? Only Yesterday, right. I would really like to check those out and see if I like them better than Miyazaki's works. Miyazaki is alright. I just can't say I've really loved any of his films. I'd say that actually my favorite he's ever done is Castle of Cagliostro, but that's not technically a Ghibli film because...
I mean, it's Lupin.
If Kate wanted to segue into Lupin the Third, if that's not too soon from here.
Oh gosh. Well,
if it is, that's okay. I don't want to put pressure on you, but
Castle of Cagliostro, the G is silent. That is probably my favorite thing of Miyazaki's that I've seen.
Mm-hmm.
It feels kind of like a transitionary period between his earlier works, including working on Lupin the Third Part 1, which is a TV series, and going into his later films, which would include his Studio Ghibli work. So I feel like Castle of Cagliostro strikes that like kind of sweet spot in between the two, and it's not quite my favorite Lupin the Third piece of media, but I definitely enjoy it. And for people who are not aware of what Lupin the Third is, it's a long-running series it dates back to the 1960s with a manga, and it kind of started off as like a much more dark in tone sort of experience, along with rather adult themes and some pretty disturbing elements here and there. But as the series went on and across its many iterations, since at this point there have been decades of different groups of people who have worked on Lupin the Third media, the tone can be all over the place. Generally, like the stuff that people tend to like, it's kind of like a cross between, like tone-wise, it's somewhere between James Bond and Scooby-Doo. So that's
a great way of putting it, actually.
I gotta agree with that.
There's Lupin the Third is a descendant of the character Arsène Lupin, who's a famous thief, and like the series was like an unofficial tie-in to Arsène Lupin's stories, but at this point, those stories are in the public domain, so that means that Lupin the Third is now free to use that name anywhere. And it's basically Arsène Lupin's grandson, Lupin the Third, and his they're thief buddies who go around trying to commit crimes and steal stuff while being pursued by Lupin's nemesis. uh, I think he's like his exact affiliation differs depending on the series, but he's usually part of Interpol, a detective person named Zenigata, who is Lupin's sworn nemesis, who his main goal is to capture and imprison Lupin. So there's some pretty silly antics that go on. And I really enjoy the series a bunch. There's quite a bit of variety. Some stuff is more serious, other stuff is more silly. And of course, like some Lupin the Third works are really good, others are not so good. Um, Along with Castle of Cagliostro, which is on the more serious end of Lupin. Well, I mean serious in the sense that it's like not comedic, but it's also a very family-friendly film overall.
Mm-hmm.
But some other Lupin the Third stuff that I would recommend people check out would be the Fuma Conspiracy, which is yeah, I love Fuma Conspiracy. That has a little bit more of the silliness in there. And I also really like Blood Seal of the Eternal Mermaid, which is a TV special from 2011. And that series, or that special in particular, is my favorite piece of Lupin the Third media. It manages to have some of the silly elements and also be pretty serious and dramatic. And it all comes together into a very engaging experience that I really adore. Last year, I was watching a bunch of Lupin the Third with a group of friends, and almost all of us agreed that Blood Seal of the Eternal Mermaid is by far the best thing that we've seen from the series. It's really top-notch stuff.
You gotta check that out someday then, yeah.
Same here.
Yeah, me too. I'm actually rather disappointed that I sat on Cagliostro for so long.
Same here.
Well, better late than never.
Yeah, anyway.
But yeah, regarding his other work, I know Nausicaa was not a Studio Ghibli film originally, but it's kind of been retroactively brought into it.
Sure.
And I don't know, my favorite Ghibli film pretty much ever is Castle in the Sky.
That is probably my favorite Miyazaki film, and I have a real basic bitched reason for it. Like, this is going to sound so lowbrow of me to say, but I think I'm not the biggest fan of most of his works because they don't really have an antagonist in them for the most part. Or, like, you know, they kind of do, like, have some antagonistic forces sometimes, but usually there's not really, like, a concrete main villain for the most part. Whereas Castle in the Sky does have a fantastic villain in Colonel Muska, he's a piece of work, that one. I think he makes the film a lot more interesting. That and Dora and her band of affable thieves is a really fun time, to say the least. So, yeah, I like Castle in the Sky a good deal. I thought Kiki's was pretty good. I did like Nausicaa. I remember liking Mononoke. I thought Ponyo was alright. Spirited Away was alright. Howl's Moving Castle kind of pissed me off. Hot take, I'm sorry.
Oh, that is a hot take.
It starts out on a good foot, and I like most of the characters, but it just kind of gets hard to follow at the 2/3 mark, and then it ends so abruptly I get whiplash every time. I really don't like how it ends. I'm sorry, it's just... It wraps it in too neatly a bow, if I might sound like a nerd a-hole there. But,
Nerd a-hole.
That's just my opinion. It is what it is.
Oh, and
Hi, Leo.
Hey,
yes. Are you aware of who Leo is?
Is that your father?
That is not my father.
Okay, my bad.
I do not know.
Well, notice what she's saying there.
Yeah, he says, "Hi, Dad."
Oh,
Right.
that's your daughter. Oh shoot,
That's my oldest, and you just trashed Hal's Moving Castle. You're in for it, Mike.
Wow.
Interesting timing.
First time she came on here, and now I look like the biggest asshole ever.
It's
It
okay.
seems
How
like
are you
people
ever
are a
gonna
fan
live
of
this
it.
down?
I just, oh Jesus, I literally was not expecting this. Now I just,
It's okay, Kaya. He didn't trash it too badly. He just it's not a favorite of his.
yeah, it has parts I like. I just think the parts are less than the sum of the whole. That's all. If I want to be fair to it, I'm sorry.
I've never actually watched Howl's Moving Castle.
It was good.
It is worth a view. I will say that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I personally enjoyed it.
Now,
I feel like this was a trick on me somehow. I'm sorry.
It's just interesting timing.
you trashed Howl, and that just summoned her.
Yeah.
Well, that's impressive then.
I personally like.
Psychic power or what have you.
I personally like Howl's Moving Castle. I haven't watched it that often though, but I'll have to see what you mean by how it wraps everything up in a neat bow.
Yeah.
But I personally do like Nazca, even though the way I enjoyed that film was the butchered version until we got to Nazca.
Oh, dear Lord.
Warriors of the Wind.
Oh, Warriors of the Wind. Oh, my God.
I heard how badly that was mutilated, yeah. Or at least I have the gist of it.
When I finally got to see the original Nazca the way it was supposed to be, it was like, wow, this makes so much more sense now.
Yep. But as a kid, I enjoyed that movie so much. I rented it so many times, and I just loved the art and everything about it. And yes, when I heard Nazca was actually the full title, I'm like, wait, there's a half an hour missing? What the heck's going on here?
Mm-hmm.
So now that I own the film, it's one of my favorite anime films just because of the whole nostalgic feel and with the new stuff. But I also like Spirited Away because it was another interesting anime that I could use as a gateway to people who's not into anime. It's a nice, feel-good film, even though there's some weird stuff in that film.
There is still...
Those are the...
I just want to say something. Because of my daughters, I can still quote parts of Spirited Away from memory.
Okay.
And I liked when Strong Bad dressed up as No Face for that one Homestar Halloween special.
That's another thing.
Oh, No Facey. Wow.
Just so as you know, that's another thing that my daughter here is into, is Homestar.
Okay, good. Then I haven't completely burnt that bridge.
You saved it. Anyway.
Mm-hmm. Now, I'm not used to
Do you
calling
think there's
her...
enough? Do you think there's enough meat on Homestar to get a roundtable out of that someday?
I think so.
Awesome.
Keep in mind, I am not used to calling her Leo, so I'll probably be referring to her as Kaya whenever I see her. Like, now, yes, she was raised on Homestar.
Yay. It's a good thing to grow up on.
Kaya, you can actually thank Mike for that, by the way. He introduced me to Homestar.
That was... Wow, I actually forgot that was me. You can thank my brother for that. He actually introduced me to Homestar.
And the circle of life continues.
Pretty much. Well, I wonder if we... I don't know if there's anywhere to mention Stinko Man, but...
Well, you know...
Yeah.
It is related to this.
Yeah.
Because you got to have blue hair.
Exactly, yes.
Stinko Man is one of many different attempts to provide some sort of parody of anime. I think it comes from a place of affection, but it is basically just like trying to make fun of shonen tropes and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like the mouth. Really tiny when it's closed, ridiculously huge when it's opened.
The head would be a little bean.
Yeah. It'll be all shiny, and have really cool boots. And apparently they play the Rad Racer music to close it.
But,
Yes.
She's
Kai's
got
went
to
to
go
work.
already?
Yeah, she was
Okay.
heading to work. So
Thanks for
Okay.
joining us. Have a good one.
yeah,
Thank you
Kaya,
for stopping
shit.
in. I hope I've equaled the balance of karma that I've set off.
I love you, Kaya. Have a good night at work.
Hey, take care now.
Have a
So.
good show.
All right. So let's see. On the subject of other Ghibli stuff, I do like My Neighbor Totoro.
Oh yeah, well, it's pretty hard to argue with that one. It's a film where not too much happens, but it's got good vibes, if that's a fair way of describing it.
I've only seen the first 10 or so minutes of My Neighbor Totoro.
Never watched that one.
I just find it funny to see how much it's been parodied in Western animation.
Oh, that's crazy.
Oh.
Where has it been there?
Bob's Burgers.
You know?
He actually
which
did that.
Which episode? Is this a later season one? I'm still in season 11.
You passed it then, I'm pretty sure.
Shit. Well, it's been some time then. I'll have to look back for it.
And of course, there was that whole bit on The Simpsons where they just basically riffed on everything Ghibli. And I'm pretty sure Totoro was part of it. So, but yeah, that's and Spirited Away. That was one. I remember watching that shortly before Kaya was born.
Oh, nice.
And so therefore it ended up being one of the when she got a bit older, and that ended up being one of the first Ghibli movies she ever saw. So, but yes, thanks to her and her sister, I can actually just quote parts of that verbatim.
Very good.
So, and there's some other decent Ghibli stuff out there. I mean, I've seen stuff like Ponyo, which was really good. What was that? Secret World of Arietti? Which I think was based on The Borrowers.
Yeah, it was based on a Western book. I haven't seen that one yet, though.
And there was Porco Rosso.
I keep meaning to get to that one, damn it. It's like, even if I'm not a huge Miyazaki fan, I still like what I've seen of him, and I do feel all of his films are worthly seeing once, so, yeah, I still have a few gaps to fill in there.
Yeah. There's some other ones I don't recall off the top of my head. I know I've missed out on a lot of the more recent ones that have come out. However many of those have been. But go on,
My
Kate.
thoughts on Hayao Miyazaki's work that I've seen is that his stuff seems generally well done for what it is, but at the same time, it, for the most part, does not align with my personal tastes or interests, and I'm not super interested in seeing it overall.
Totally fair.
Yeah, so why don't we use this to segue into our personal interest in anime, maybe what got us all started on it. And Kate, since you led off with that, how about you go first?
Oh gosh, like how we got into anime?
Yeah, it's like what started us off? What shaped our tastes in anime? That kind of thing.
So, my family had like anime OVAs and whatnot in the house on VHS, and I have like very early memories of seeing like a bunch of assorted stuff. Some of it I'm not even totally sure what it was from, but like I recently rewatched some of them and was like, oh, I recognize this. So the earliest anime that I can recall seeing in my life is this OVA called Plastic Little. And yeah, and I also remember seeing some other these are like late 80s, early 90s anime OVAs along with Plastic Little. I have memories of seeing Legend of Lemnir and Burn Up and Black Magic M66
Yeah.
and the and Ghost in the Shell, probably some others too. So I just kind of had some kind of exposure to that very early on. And then I also saw some other things, like I saw a bit of Speed Racer on TV, but was never into that. I think when I was a kid, I then started getting into stuff like Pokemon when that started airing on television in North America. And I also discovered um, it was mentioned another you all mentioned the completely uh, massacred Warriors of the Wind thing.
Oh
I
God.
didn't see that, but I saw another thing that was heavily edited in its localization, and that's the Cardcaptors cartoon series that was aired on Kids WB.
Mm.
And to sum up what changes they made to that, Cardcaptor Sakura is as I mentioned at the start of the stream, a magical girl anime, which is it was a very shoujo series targeted at young girls. But the Cardcaptors localization attempted to take this series intended for young girls and heavily edit it and compress it and remove entire chunks of the story and switch things around in order to try and retrofit it into being a series targeted at young boys. Like it attempts
What?
to play up the action and like
Ugh.
have the character Shaoran be portrayed as being like one of the dual protagonists along with Sakura in order to make it.
Yes, I remember.
Yeah, it's basically
That is
like
bogus.
they really changed it around tremendously. So that was actually my first exposure to anything Cardcaptor related. But then fairly soon after that, I got a VHS tape as a gift from my mom, which was the first 4 episodes of the unedited original Japanese Cardcaptor Sakura. And when I discovered that, I was kind of surprised by how much girlier it was, but at the same time, I was really into it. And that ended up becoming my favorite anime series. So that made a big impression on me, and some years later, I ended up watching the entire original Cardcaptor Sakura anime series, and also the movies that were based on it, and even the recent the Clear Card sequel series that was released a few years back.
Sounds like
So yeah, I really adore Cardcaptor Sakura.
sounds like 4 kids there pulled a Sega's The Ninja on the series originally.
I don't actually remember. I think it was Nelvana who did that. I would have to double check.
And hey, I see Scroll Boss, aka Prime, is here.
Hey, Scroll Boss.
Hey, Prime,
Hey,
what up,
Scroll
sir?
Boss.
Hello.
Prime. What's going on,
Ooh.
Prime? All right, so
Now you mentioned classic Little and Legends of Lemnir. I believe that's the same artist.
Urushihara?
Yeah,
Yes.
I think he did both or something like that.
Pretty sure. He also did art for, I think, the Langrisser video game series.
Oh,
That's right.
cool.
yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
So, how about we go to you next, Jay? How about your first exposure and what shaped your tastes?
Well, that's going to be an interesting one to talk about. Well, I guess my earliest experience of anime would be like what was on TV during the 80s, such as like Robotech, which would be an anime that I would watch consistently. Like, I had to make sure I watched that show every week because it was a very serialized storyline, unlike watching, like Turtles or something like that, which each episode was just a monster of the week kind of thing.
If I may
But,
interject something
I
real
didn't-
quick.
Go ahead.
Speaking of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, I swear to God, there was a time when every single time I turned that show on, they were showing the episode Corporate Raiders from Dimension X. I must have seen it like 4 or 5 times in a row. It was ridiculous.
There's
That's funny.
yeah, I seem to remember there was a show where I seem to keep coming across the same episode multiple times, but I can't remember what that was. Might have been Beavis and Butthead, although I'm not entirely sure. I just remember seeing the one where they go to an art gallery a lot for some reason.
The one with the buttworm from below.
Oh, that was that one. Oh,
Nah, I don't know which one that was.
Oh, okay.
I just find it funny that out of 10 seasons of Turtles, that's the one you kept landing on somehow.
And it literally was like every, I'd turn it on, 1 week, and there it was. And, it didn't seem like too much time had passed. I'd turn it on again, and Corporators and Dimension X.
That's so funny.
And then again and again and again. And I just was like, okay, I'm not watching a show for like a year.
Yeah, no kidding, right?
Yeah, so.
Hey, C, welcome.
Hey, Eugene.
Hey, Gene. What up, sir?
Welcome.
Yeah, you and Prime just missed my daughter coming in here, my oldest. Because we were talking about Studio
At the least opportune time possible for me.
Hey, you summoned her.
That town ever.
You summoned her with your howl slander.
I guess I did. So I guess I did kind of a good thing, even if I only got her to appear for a few minutes, so you're welcome. Now I'm being an asshole.
Hey, first time she's
nice
ever been in one of the
touch there,
streams.
I hope she'll be in for more later. But
here's hoping.
Yeah, for sure.
Anyway, though,
Just mention
Jay.
House Moving Castle. She'll come.
I'll see if it works later, yeah.
You were saying, Jay?
Yeah,
sorry.
Continue, Jay. Please.
Yeah, no. So what I liked about the whole idea of Robotech, and that's what really got me into the precursor to the anime when I finally realized what anime was all about, was the idea that each episode was the next part of that story. You wanted to know more and more. And welcome, Zombie.
Yes, Zombie's here.
Oh, hey there. What's up?
But
Welcome.
what really got me into anime is whenever my friend and I, we were walking in Blockbuster and just walking around and looking at this one section that's called Japanimation, and I'm like, what is this? It looks a lot like the stuff I used to watch, like Voltron and Robotech and all that. And then I came across an anime called Vampire Hunter D. And the other one that we rented that was Lensman. So I rented Vampire Hunter D and Lensman. We watched both of them that day, and I was just blown away by the storylines and the characters, the gruesomeness of Vampire Hunter D especially. And I'm like, this is a cartoon? What am I into now? So I wanted to know more and more. And then I started to realize what Robotech was actually like, because it's actually 3 series meshed together somehow. And they did a good job somehow.
Yeah, somehow. What were those called originally, though? Now, one was Macross, one was Mos Pieta or something like that?
Yeah, Mos Pieta. What was the third one?
That was...
But, it was 3 different series, but they somehow made it together and made it into one cohesive storyline that somehow worked. And now it became somewhat canon. I don't know. But anyway, what really shaped me from that point on is Vampire Hunter D and its mature storylines, and I wanted to know more. And I was around, 15 at the time, so I've been watching this for over 30 years now. Yeah. But
nice.
That is the starting point for me when it came to the anime, and then I started branching into movies like Ghost in the Shell, like Kate was saying, and things like that. Then I came across what became my favorite show of all time, which is my avatar, Ranma. That we had a couple of VHS tapes that they were available to rent, and we watched it, and I thought, oh my god, this is the most hilarious thing I've ever seen. But it was at a mature level almost, because it's there's mature themes in it and all that, and I don't know, the characters were just hilarious, and Nabiki's one of my favorite characters, even though she's a capitalist. But she's just hilarious. I love her. She's just great, and she just capitalizes on Ranma as much as possible. Or Tatsumaki Kuno. I don't know. It's just, I got the entire series on Blu-ray now, and I'm glad they remade the show, so it gives new people a chance to watch the show and go into the older stuff too. And I don't know. Anime I watch all kinds of different ones. Like I go from Ranma to Tenchi to Robotech to Vampire Hunter D to Lupin to Devil Hunter Yoko is another one that there was so many good ones that I saw at blockbusters such as Evangelion and things like that. And another thing that really shaped me is going into an anime club at in a different city where I used to live. We would watch 6 hours of anime each week on the big screen. So for $2 a month. $2 a week, and yeah, it's just that's why when people say, "Oh, you love video games," I'm like, yeah, but anime's my number one passion. I will drop every video game just to keep watching more if I could.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Damn, Eugene, a Vampire Hunter D bundle, $13.
$30 for $13. What?
Crazy!
I gotta look into that.
That's insane. Yeah.
And Zombie, I got
little.
I was just say, Zombie, I got a couple of things to say about Liquid Television later. But go ahead.
I'm with you, Zombie. On the Ranma. I love Ranma to this day. I will. Still my number one top series of all time. Just it's so good.
Nice. It was a little bit later on that I discovered it, but I also got into Ranma 1/2 as well for a good chunk of time. I've not seen the series in full, but I watched until like somewhere in the middle of season 6, so that's pretty far in. And
oh yes,
I really enjoyed the silliness of the series. I felt it struck a really good balance, especially in season 1, of being kind of it was sort of halfway in between episodic and serialized storytelling, but then later seasons started leaning more into being episodic, and they started introducing like a ton of new characters every other episode, so it definitely became a different thing as it went on.
Nice. Let's see here. Eugene, you were the vice president of your college anime club.
That's amazing.
Nice.
You had a college anime club. Interesting. And
I did have one. I went to one for a bit when I was in college, but I was not like the vice president or anything.
And Snarb, yeah, I hear you about the anime from Blockbuster, but I can do you a little better than that, but I'll get to that when I talk about it.
Mm-hmm. As much as I hated the idea, but like, you only get 2 episodes per VHS or whatever the case may be, it was what we had at the time.
Yep.
I'm so happy with DVD and Blu-ray where I can get an entire series for about the same price. So,
on a related note, I remember that's how they sold Star Trek episodes at the time. It's like going to buy one tape that had 2 episodes, or maybe just one. So, can you imagine with these shows that went to like 7 seasons, how much of a royal pain in the ass that would be?
It just takes forever, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mike, so what about you?
The bottom of the barrel in regards to this subject. I was genuinely actually kind of worried about this subject at first because I felt that you 3 would have run circles around me in your experience with anime. But looking into it, no wait. I actually have seen more than I thought I did, and also some series that some of you aren't as familiar with. That being said, getting started on it, I'm trying to think if there's an answer before Pokemon, because that seems like the most basic answer I can possibly give, but I genuinely have trouble recounting any anime series I watched regularly before that, so maybe that does just have to be my answer after all, I don't know.
Pokemon's not a bad place to start. It was a
Agreed.
big introduction for a lot of people.
And that is a very good point. Yeah, I guess I wasn't raised on anime in so much until that became such a large thing that no one could ignore it. And this is kind of part of my asshole divide here, but I grew up watching a lot of Looney Tunes on Nickelodeon, and that really sparked my interest in Western animation, but I never had anything quite like that for anime for my formative years until Pokemon, so I guess I made a little bit of a jerk out of me in that regard, but
Why would that make you a jerk?
because at some point in my life, I kind of became a bit of a hater of anime, and I thought Western animation was superior.
This is true. I remember hearing about this.
And this phase lasted longer than I'd like to admit, and I'm very embarrassed by it.
Well, you got better.
Exactly.
Too little too late almost, but I suppose I did.
This is all about second chances here.
You saw the
if you say
anime
so.
light.
Yep. Yeah. So, any particular series that have stuck with you? Besides, obviously, Trigun there.
Well, this is the most basic bitch answer I can give, but Cowboy Bebop, shrug. I know a lot of people say Bebop was a formative one for them, and the best and or their favorite, and even for a while when I wasn't so keen on anime, even I thought Bebop was great. Now I'm starting to wonder if I could still call it my favorite, because it's like when thinking about an Avatar, I was down to either Spike or Vash, and this may just be recency bias, but even if I only saw it a few months ago, Trigun might be a good qualification for possibly my favorite anime at this rate, maybe ever. I don't know. I'd have to sit on it a bit, but
That's awesome.
that and Vash is just so adorably affable. He's the nicest guy you could ever ask for to be your friend. Spike Spiegel, in comparison, is honestly kind of a dick, and I don't think he befits my personality on most days very well at all, so that's why I went with Vash as my avatar there. I just liked a lot about Bebop, and I used to say that, there's not much to it, it's just space bounty hunters doing bounty hunter shit. That's a simple enough premise. But I don't know if that's belittling its more artistic merit, and if that would, if some might even call the series pretentious. I don't know. I know Snarb's not a Bebop fan, so I'm not trying to suck it off if I can help it.
Mike,
it's not perfect.
You realize the last time you did this, you summoned my oldest. You might be summoning Sam at this point.
I mean, wait, why would I be? I'm still a big fan of Bebop. Like, I'm not trying to downplay it.
I don't know.
He's a big fan. Hey, shut up. He's a big fan of Trigun too, okay? So.
Oh, Mike, you know what I have to say to that?
What?
You really want to know what I have to say to that?
Let's do it.
Do it.
It's not coming.
I sure hope so. There's enough room in this world for both Cowboy Bebop and Trigun, and I think that they're both great sci-fi space western series, and I guess that's sort of where I lean more towards. I would say that in general, I do prefer seinen works. Like, if I were to bring up a list that I've seen and really enjoyed. Actually, some of this is more comedic in nature. No, actually, all right, maybe that's not an accurate thing to say then. Fuck. Well, I mean, I guess I can't say if he like recently, like just before this roundtable, I felt like there was a series I should catch up on, and I finally got in the mercifully short Serial Experiments lane, which was a good time and very creepy and bizarre, but I liked it.
Awesome.
Yes.
Nice.
I also got on the very comedic and batshit madcap insane series Crow Marty High School, if anyone's heard of that. That was some
I've heard
years
of it.
back, but yeah, Freddie Mercury's just a student there for some reason, and you know,
I've heard of it, but I am not familiar with it.
Neither am
it's
I.
very zany, to say the least. I also got into another work by Shinichiro Watanabe, the creator of Cowboy Bebop, by the name of Samurai Champloo, which it might be belittling a bit to call it Cowboy Bebop in feudal Japan, and yeah, that might be oversimplifying it a bit, although I guess it doesn't help that Steve Bloom is one of the protagonists of this one too in the English dub, but now Samurai Champloo is a really fun time as well. It's got a really neat style, and every episode is very fun. And there's a baseball episode in there at some point, because of course there is. Because a lot of anime, even a lot of non-Japanese series seem to do that for some reason. But what
Or the
else?
beach episode.
Or beach. I forget if that one had a beach episode too. I think it might have, but I don't recall.
Most anime just seem to have some weird beach episode somehow. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
well,
there
hey.
is that. I think what I've come to realize is that I don't like anime. Fuck. Take two. I think what I've come to realize is that I don't dislike anime per se, but I tend to be pickier about it, and there are several tropes that tend to pop up in a lot of Japanese animated works that really bug me for some reason. I think the worst one being the supposed heroic character who's a huge fucking pervert. I just really fucking hate that shit forever. And it's bad, and less series should do that, please.
There are like lots of tropes out there that all different kinds of media make use of. Some of them I like more than others, to be fair.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it.
I know one common trope that I personally love is the motivational friendship speech. I never get tired of that.
You know, I can't really fault that. I'm a big fan of the Like a Dragon series, and that sometimes has rousing speeches in that every now and again, so...
Today
Nice.
we celebrate our Independence Day.
You know, that is basically the Western big-budget version of a rousing anime speech, built by Bill Pullman, no less. That's actually not a bad way of putting it.
So I suppose we're down to me then. Let's see.
And yes,
Go for it,
Prime, Rip Nugibus, his music, like, made that series as much as Yoko Kanno's did Bebop, so... Absolutely. He died way too soon. But yes, sorry, Rob, go ahead.
Much like Jay, I began watching anime in the 80s with stuff that was just on TV at the time. Voltron. It was Transorzy, like I mentioned quite a while back. I never saw anything like Battle of the Planets, though. But I do remember seeing a show called Macron 1. And then there was also, everyone thinks of Voltron, they think of the Lions, but I also remember watching the vehicle Voltron.
Oh,
cool.
yes.
And I remember, like, the first crossover kind of thing I could think of was when the Lions teamed up with the vehicles to destroy the combined forces of both the antagonists of both series. And something. It's been years since I've seen it, so I can tell you what happens. But much like Jay, the big one was Robotech. That was so popular in my house, even my father watched that all the time.
Cool.
So he'd be getting ready to go to work, and it's like, oh, you guys watching Robotech? So he'd sit down and watch it with us. I liked Robotech because they weren't afraid of showing you that bad things could happen during war. It wasn't like G.I. Joe where, you know, every plane shot down would have someone parachuting out of it, you know?
Yeah, that was... that series pulled its punches, but it was blatantly marketing to children, so I guess it had to.
Yeah. But, Jay, you remember the episode, I can't remember exactly what the title was, but Goodbye Big Brother or something like that?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
When Rick loses, spoilers, his brother.
Roy Fokker.
That's sad. Bogus.
Yeah, died right on his girlfriend's couch, too.
Yep.
Fuck.
He'd come back from a successful combat mission, but it'd taken some hits from the Zentradi. Didn't realize how bad it was until he keeled over.
Oh.
So yeah, they were not afraid to show you that people would die in war. So
that's fair then. I mean, I guess that's the thrust of most sub-series within the web of Mobile Suit Gundam, which I should ask up front how familiar anyone is with the Gundam franchise.
I have never seen it.
I watched a few.
I saw
more of a Macross fan than Gundam personally, but
I saw one of the OVAs that came out.
How would I say? Yeah, I have only seen the compilation trilogy films that cuts out most of the chaff of the original series, and I enjoyed that. And I saw the miniseries 0080, I think it was, aka War in the Pocket, and that's a very good treatise on why war is terrible. And the only other Gundam series I've seen, strangely, is one of the more recent ones, Iron-Blooded Orphans, which a friend of mine was really into, so I decided to give that a look, and yeah, it's pretty good. Yes, I thought it was good, yes. But, yeah, other than that, I don't know a heck of a lot of Gundam, and there's so much of it to get on that...
yeah, it's been a long series.
Yeah, it's kind of intimidating for me, hence, but maybe someday I'll dig into that more.
Well,
I did like Stardust Memory.
It didn't help that Gundam took forever to cross the Pacific to get to us.
Oh, yeah, no, that makes sense, unfortunately.
Yeah. But, you know, in the late 80s, I kind of started to drift away from anime a little bit. And then when I was in high school, I met my friend Bromley. And that just kind of kickstarted the whole thing again because he was getting tapes from a guy he knew. He told me about a place called Enterprise 1701 down in Orlando. And turns out that not only do they sell anime there, and this is where, you know, when you'd buy the episodes, it was like one episode per tape, and the tapes were stupidly priced.
What a racket that sounds like.
Yet he actually did buy the first 2 or 3 tapes in the Zillion anime series.
Hey, cool.
I remember seeing that and going, the only other Zillion I know is on the Sega Master System. Is this? I wonder. And Eugene, speaking of Dragon Warrior, that was something Bromley had found on TV. He was actually setting his VCR to tape it. So
nice.
They only had 13 episodes that got dubbed, and I remember being so pissed because at one point I asked him about it, and it's like, so did you get the next episode? He's like, no, Captain Planet was on. What do you mean Captain Planet was on? Well, it took forever till I found out, but man, I hated Captain Planet up until that point. Anyway, but then one day he brought his latest acquisition over, and that was Akira, which at the time was like nothing anyone had ever seen before. So go by its historical significance here, if nothing else. I mean, you really can't take a giant manga series and compress it down into like a 1.5 hour movie without losing a ton of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember watching it and at the end just going, what the fuck just happened? I have no idea.
It was definitely a trip of a movie. Holy crow.
Yes, it was. And he started to get some other stuff. And so we set up a little bootlegging operation and started copying the tapes he had and selling them to interested parties at school.
That's hilarious.
And Akira was our biggest seller, period. Until the day something else happened. Bromley's like, you got to check out what I just got from whatever that guy's name was. I don't remember. He pops in this tape, and I'm like, I have no idea what to expect. And it turns out it was the first episode of Yes, Eugene, you're a Sokidoji.
Yeah, here we go.
Which at the
I don't
time
know this series.
they called something. It was being called the Wandering Kid or something like that. And anyway, we copied that, started selling that too, and that quickly surpassed Akira. Because now word was spreading around, we were selling a porno tape, a porno cartoon.
Oh my gosh.
Mm-hmm.
So we made a little money there. Yeah, this is about the same time I was smuggling porno magazines to sell too. So I had an arrangement with another
That's
guy
amazing.
I knew who was over 18. My parents would only buy games at Christmas and birthdays, and if you got a good report card. So I had to think, there's all these Genesis games coming out, and it's like, I need money. So yeah, I was a teenage smut peddler.
Wow.
I did read about that.
Guess had to get it from
Pretty
somewhere.
entertaining.
Mm-hmm. And then, no, actually, we didn't really smuggle anything else because we graduated, for one thing. And, all of the guys who were buying our stuff, they all turned 18 and they could just go get it themselves, but cheaper. So, yeah.
Makes sense.
So just
Yeah.
quote the Wandering Kid. They're actually they're putting that on Blu-ray. Oh dear
Yeah,
God.
this was
Really?
announced recently, and I think the distribution company is called Discotech or something like that. And
Yeah, just like Eugene
th-
said.
th- there was a Discord server. I just saw everyone losing their shit at the announcement over. It was actually pretty funny. I'm
Hey,
not gonna
Brandon.
lie.
Hey, Brandon. No one's brought that up yet. I've never seen it myself.
Baki the Grappler is mostly a blind spot for me. I mostly only know it for its very grossly exaggerated art style of the human form, which I'm not sure exactly how I feel about that, but I know some people who are fans of that series, so it is what it is.
Okay,
But,
so I'm looking up Urotsuki Doji because I was not familiar with it, and I think I'm understanding the reactions people are having in the comments.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's a very special film. I guess in one
Yeah,
way or
special's a good way to describe it. Uncle from Another
All right.
World I've never even heard of until now, Eugene.
another. Saying what?
I've heard of it, I've not seen it myself. Isn't that the series where the guy, the uncle from another world, comes from a time in which Sega consoles are really popular, and he's
What?
like a big Sega fan or something?
What?
What is this,
Oh
like
my gosh, it's
Sega Gaga
actually
the
something.
anime?
That would be great if so.
Yeah.
That's the same thing, right?
What, Sega
Please
Gaga?
tell us, AC Myers. I have no idea.
Yeah. Uncle from Another
Uncle
World. I'll have to look that
from
one up.
another-
Anyway, just to
Indeed.
keep going a little bit, my friends and I were still, checking out anime at the time. We watched a lot of regular stuff. But I know there was a Sega fanboy who disappeared during the console wars into another world and comes back 30 years later.
Okay, I want
Oh.
to see it.
Yeah, me too.
Came back in a world where Sega's no longer making consoles.
Brother from Another
Bogus.
Planet. I remember seeing that movie for rent at the video store I used to go to, which kind of figures into this next story. So we go out and rent movies. This store, Video Plus, they had a special card for members where you get one free movie per month. So usually we'd save that free movie and we'd rent porno films to Mystery Science Theater, which was hilarious. But we found one. It was released by the Brothers Grime. And it was
Okay.
it was called Gonad the Barbarian.
Oh yeah, right. I remember you mentioning this one before our show here.
Yes, and it was some hentai anime that had been
Oh boy.
butchered by this sleazeball American company And it's on archive.org. So everyone knows you can go look this Gonad the Barbarian up on archive.org and see just how bad it is. The dialogue is on another level entirely. And I'm not going to go into describing any particular parts, but we used to make fun of that so often after we saw it, because like, this can't be real. It's actually real. Okay. Oh, but there is one bit that I liked. It's when there's like the scientist and the head of this organization. They're trying to find the heroine, and they start this machine that's supposed to track her, and it's like all these flashing lights, and and then the head guy's like, "What does all this fucking flashing mean?" Just the dumbest line. And anyway, the friend of mine who rented that ended up renting a lot more hentai, so I ended up seeing quite a bit of that in the early 90s. However, on the flip side, I was also seeing cool stuff like Black Magic M66, Riding Bean, Robot Carnival, and then, like I was saying, when, I don't know if Zombie's still here or not, but Liquid Television showed Neo Tokyo. And specifically, the one I remember seeing was called The Running Man. No relation to the Schwarzenegger movie. But it was one that we all kind of just, since they didn't give a title for it, unless it was in the credits, I don't remember. It was like F-Zero the anime. And it's a heck of a watch. I can tell you that much. I mean, we were glued to it.
I saw Neo Tokyo just last year.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't super into it, but I do think it's impressive for what it is. It has some pretty good animation. And yeah, definitely that particular segment, it feels... I don't remember what year it came out, but it definitely feels like an F-Zero anime.
Yeah. We were glued to it when it came on Liquid Television. And I know Liquid Television was basically to showcase Western animation, but they did slip some anime in there from time to time. Of course, they also showed the Adventures of Dog Boy too. So,
the hell?
That was a weird live action thing.
Okay then.
It's really something you just have to see for yourself.
I'll take your word for it, Davey.
Yeah, you just
What's the name of this?
What, Dog Boy?
Okay.
The Adventures of Dog Boy, I think it was called. And yes, Liquid Television, The Head, and Aeon Flux. Oh yeah, I remember those.
Same.
Yeah, especially Aeon Flux. Kind of hard to forget that one, considering on the Liquid Television, she died in every episode.
Yeah, I remember that was like the main sort of catch of that series.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, sounds pretty fun.
No, we haven't gotten to that yet, Sharon. Good old Bubblegum Crisis. You see, right during the time Bromley and I were doing our bootlegging operation, and we were going to Enterprise 1701 to pick up tapes, we also discovered they had a Japanese animation club that they were running there called JACO, the Japanese Animation Club of Orlando. And it was, you didn't have to be a member or anything to get in, because we just sit there and watched unsubbed, undubbed anime recorded directly off of Japanese television, including commercials. Those were highlights. And we'd spend 2 or 3 hours up there every other Thursday just watching this anime. And we had no idea what half of it was. But Bubblegum Crisis was kind of a standout there because we actually were told what that was. There were other ones. I think Record of Lotus War was one of them. And
fantastic.
I've been meaning to watch that one.
It's good. It's really good.
Yeah, and I wish I could remember some of the other ones we saw up there for the first time. I think that's where we were also first clued into Dirty Pair too.
Yes.
Oh, neat.
I love Dirty Pair. So it's
I
hilarious.
prefer to be called the Lovely Angels, so.
Oh yeah, don't call them Dirty Pair.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, Slayers.
Slayers, I have never seen. I don't think.
I mostly know it has a booby sorceress in it who's pretty popular.
Well, I
Not
can
that.
understand why.
But
We
I'm
also
aware of Slayers, but I've not watched it myself.
they're really good. It's a long series, but it's really well done.
Nice.
and we also ended up seeing some OVAs up there too. Stuff like Demon City Shinjuku.
Oh, yes.
That was a cool movie. And Maddox 01 was another one. Which
I don't think I've seen that one.
that was funny. It's basically about this. It's like a mecha that is being transported somewhere, falls off the truck, and this teenager finds it. And he's like, "Oh, cool!" And he goes to try it out, and he ends up getting locked inside the thing and rampaging through the city, completely unplanned. So the military is trying to hunt him down and everything, and it's something you should watch if you get a chance.
That's
I'll
fun,
have to
yes.
Take a look into that.
Yeah, and of course, I already mentioned Riding Bean, which I'm sure most of us here are familiar with.
Oh, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Love
I
Riding
don't know
Bean.
that one.
Are you
Have you
familiar?
seen Gunsmith Cats?
Yeah, Gunsmith
Familiar
Cats.
with what?
Gunsmith Cats.
Yeah, Gunsmith
No, I've
Cats.
not seen. I have not seen Gunsmith Cats.
Oh.
It's in the same universe.
Okay.
Riding Bean was supposed to be the series, but at one point they had to go ahead and change it for some reason. So Gunsmith Cats ended up becoming the series. I remember reading that somewhere.
I see.
And I know there was a lot of other stuff we saw at the time. Area 88 I saw for the first time around then. Which that is still one of my favorite series. It's just like
It
that.
looks very interesting.
It's kind of got the whole horrors of
the-
war thing going on too.
Area 88 is what led to UN Squadron, right?
Yep.
Uh-huh.
In fact,
Okay.
it's a direct game adaptation of Area 88. You're obviously going to find a lot more story in the manga and in the anime to a lesser degree, but it's basically the story about almost literally right before the game hit Prime. But it revolves around this pilot named Shin Kazama, who he was basically in flight school to become an airline pilot with his best friend Kanzaki. I think he was either engaged or just involved with the daughter of the owner of the airline he was going to fly for. And Kanzaki was very jealous. And after they graduated, he took Shin out drinking, got him drunk, had him sign something, claiming it was, here, sign this. It'll, it's our pass, so he could get out. And he signs it. And next thing you know, when he sobers up, there's these two guys there, and they're like, "You need to come with us, Mr. Kazama." And he's like, "What? Why? Who are you?" And he's like, "We're with the I don't remember exactly what it's called, but something Forces of Azran, and you're part of our mercenary air force now." And it's like, if you don't come with us, you will be shot for desertion. So he gets shipped off to this hellhole in this desert country of Azran, which is in the middle of a civil war. And as it is, there's only 3 ways out of this whole mercenary thing. 1 is to serve 3 years. 2 is to earn enough money to actually buy out your contract, which is like $1 million. 3, die. So, and the whole series is about how being basically a wartime pilot changes him. So it's really, really interesting.
That guy sounds like a fucking dick who signed him up for it.
Oh, Kanzaki gets his in the end. Don't worry about that.
Okay, cool. That's all I can ask for.
Yeah, he doesn't
Perhaps
get
I
away
should
with
see
it.
this series.
Yeah, it's excellent.
Good.
It's also one of the older
Nice.
ones too. I think it started manga-wise originally back in the late 70s.
Nice. That's pretty cool.
And
Yeah, ever since your suggestion with that, I've been wanting to check out the anime because since you suggested a stream UN, well, Area 88 or UN Squadron, I'm so interested in it and did some research on it. And I'm like, can't wait to find a way to watch the show somehow. But thank you for that again. So
no problem. Let's see. As the early 90s went on and still watching anime, and it just kind of started to drop off for me after a while. And I still distinctly remember watching the last series I ever watched any of, and that was X in 95. Of course, now before that, I caught stuff like Bastard and just seeing how they used all the different names of metal and not so metal bands in that. Still remember the cap.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, it's there's let's see, it's like there's the Kingdom of Metallicana, and
Oh my gosh.
the captain of the guard there gets his ass kicked in every episode is called Bon Jovinia.
And
they
the
use
kingdom of Metallicana attack the land of Napster.
a few years before that.
Okay.
But there's also, the magic spells getting thrown around. And the one I remember the most is the ultimate spell of destruction, Megadeth.
Cute. Very cute.
It makes sense as far as a spell name. And there was something Slayer in there too. So
Yeah, makes sense. Indeed.
that would not surprise me that Bastard influenced Guilty Gear.
Isn't King Diamond just like a vampire in that series? Like just straight up?
I think so. And Snarb, I'm pretty sure it was X the movie. But I just remember not really being into it, and then I just kind of dropped it. I still watch my older stuff that I had, but I don't know, it just didn't click with me. And
my SEO is not great here. What X are we talking about? Because I can only find the horror film that was done a few years back. Is there like a subtitle that goes with that?
I'm assuming.
Well, like I said, I'm pretty sure this one in particular came out in 1995 or
X
99 or something like
okay.
that.
Yeah,
X
you can do it
manga.
that way.
Okay, here we go. I'm not sure I'm familiar with this one, actually.
I'm not sure why I remember it being 95 that came out in 99.
Yeah.
Wait, did the movie come later than the series or what?
I thought the series came out afterwards. I could be wrong though.
All I know is that the guy that ran the video game warehouse near me had started to rent out. That's a subtitle. He'd been renting out anime for a few years. That's where we actually rented. Yep. Okay, that would be X the movie. That's where we rented a lot of our anime from, including the hentai.
Oh, gee.
And
Fantastic.
Vampire Princess Miyu is another one we saw. I don't remember a lot of it, but it was good.
Mm-hmm.
And, of course, Devil Hunter Yoko. That one I liked so much, I eventually tracked down the Mega Drive game.
Nice.
You did.
There's a game? Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, for
have to play it.
the Mega Drive.
There is, and it's a very bloody difficult one.
Oh, is it ever?
I'm not
Yeah.
It's not unbeatable, but you gotta play very carefully.
Extremely
I
carefully.
actually watched all of Devil Hunter Yoko, which is easy to do since it's only like 5 OVAs plus a music video compilation. And then I went on to try the game, and I did not get super far into the game because it's pretty brutal. I might give it a serious try eventually.
Yeah, you should. You could probably finish it without a problem. I was
Eventually, maybe.
Although this discussion of the Mega Drive Yoko game, this just reminds me of how much anime I was introduced to thanks to their original game adaptations. Even if I first experienced them being, slightly butchered here in the West, like Kujakuo, for example. And it's like I played Spellcaster, played Mystic Defender, got hooked on Mystic Defender, and eventually found out it's like, oh, this was an anime series. Something about a Peacock King. So naturally, I had to go look those up. And
is that any commentary on Last Battle in that, Leon?
Yes, there is actually. I'd seen Fist of the North Star by the time I played Last Battle, or yeah, I think I had anyway. Then again, maybe I saw it afterwards. Yeah. Anyway, there were just too many similarities. And it's like whichever one I played or watched first was like, wow, this is really like either that movie I saw or that game I played. And then finding out that, yes, in fact, it was a Fist of the North Star game, and the enemies exploded into blood when you hit them. And it's like, oh yeah, this is definitely the same thing. But
it's in the Western version, they exploded into mustard instead of ketchup, as far as I remember.
Oh, the bosses?
Wow.
Which was weird. But yeah,
in the Japanese version, you hit the regular enemies in the stages, and their heads explode, and then their bodies explode. But good old Arzak, exactly. But when you hit them in the last battle, they just kind of go flying off the screen at the speed of light.
Which is admittedly funny in its own way, but yes.
True.
Now, I do want to mention the last battle curse as long as we're talking about this.
Curse? What?
Yeah, there seemed to be a thing where any one of my friends who played Last Battle and finished it could not do it again to save their lives.
Well, that's weird.
Yeah, it's like so many of us tried. I mean, I was not exempt from this either. I finished it once, and I went back to try and complete it several more times after that. I never could.
Dang.
Live action Fist of the North Star. Yeah, I think it was.
There was. There was actually a live action Fist of the North Star, and it's very bad.
Yeah.
Darn.
And also, then you got the flip side of things where you played a game and then you saw they made an anime out of it later on, like, say, Street Fighter 2.
Yes.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Or Fatal Fury.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Or Samurai Showdown.
Ninja Gaiden.
Salamander.
Somehow, yes.
That's an interesting anime.
And Prime, you never finished Last Battle? Because that I forget what his name is, but he is a pain in the ass. But yeah, and I remember my friend Andre specifically, being a huge Street Fighter fan, he found out about the animated movie and found out it was being released in the U.S. But the thing is, he knew about the Chun-Li shower scene, which was not in the original American release. So he went hunting for a Japanese release and found it.
Wow.
Congrats.
It's like all this for a couple seconds of animated boobs in the shower.
Chun-Li's boobs, the most famous fighting woman in video games.
Yeah. Gotta have the authentic experience. Gotta have the real thing.
It's like, it's Chun-Li. And it's like, yeah, okay, well, I got no problem with boobs, so. Anyway, but yeah.
That fight with Vega. Ooh.
Yeah, I think that's what killed most of us that tried to finish it again. I think, except for maybe Bromley, all of us finished that fight through sheer luck.
Yeah, final bosses are a tricky thing to handle. Like, Usually you want to make them challenging, but you don't want them to be demoralizing either.
Yeah.
So...
Now, Snarbu, when you say how much more of Mai that you see in the Fatal Fury movie, or are you referring to that she either appears more or that you just see more of her?
Maybe both.
Because I think I saw the Fatal Fury movie once, but I may not have.
I remember its creator, Masami Obara, is very fond of jiggly women, and he made the most of Mai's appearances in that movie, from what I understand. So
I see that Snarbu
You're
just
on
confirmed
point.
that. Well, there's something for all the
TLDR
Mai fans out there. Wow.
Nice.
You know, I remember an American magazine that covered anime. They actually did several issues devoted to just shower scenes.
Jesus Christ.
Wow.
Now, to be fair,
God.
they also slipped some men in there.
You know, fair.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. That's good then. Equal opportunity, but I'm all for that.
Yeah, but from what I remember reading about this, because I can't remember which magazine it was that did this, but there were some people complaining about it, and it's like, well, to their credit, they did put some male shower scenes in there. Yeah, but there's like 2 compared to the 150 women.
Well,
So-
okay then.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm exaggerating a little bit, I think, but
Sure.
but that's another thing. Did anyone here ever read any anime magazines way back when?
I can't say I did, unfortunately. I'm not even sure they were widely available where I was, so I don't know what to tell you there.
How about you, Kate?
When I was a kid, I had a copy of some, I don't remember what it was called, but it was like this thick book that was like hundreds and hundreds of pages. I think it was of some serialized manga like magazine from Japan, and it had a bunch of assorted manga in it, including some based off video games like Mario or Donkey Kong Country or whatnot. And I obviously didn't know Japanese, so I didn't know what they were saying, but I remember flipping through the pages and looking at the art, and I remember being pretty engaged with that.
Nice.
Nice.
How about you, Jay?
I think I was gonna say, I think the only ones that I really read a little bit was New Type, I think it was called.
Yes, new
But that
type.
was like a long time ago before I believe, stopped distribution of it. But they sometimes had like not demo, but like sample DVDs or something like that, so you can like watch an episode of an anime or something. So I got into a few series that way, but yeah, I didn't read that many magazines.
Well, back when we were doing our bootlegging operation, Bromley had bought quite a few of these magazines. New Type was one of them. Another one was called Protoculture Addicts.
Oh, okay.
And there was one other one, too. It was like Anime America or something like that. America, yeah. Prime just said it.
Yes, I remember that one too.
And this was in our senior year of high school, so I got this brilliant idea to go ahead and do my senior term paper on anime. I
Okay.
got the paper back with a note from the teacher along with my grade saying, "Did you just make some of these words up?"
Oh, wow.
And so I went up to see him after class. I'm like, no, sir, I did not make some of these words up. These are all real words. He's like, well, I'll tell you what. Bring me your sources. Prove they exist. I'll raise your grade. So I went to Bromley and was like, yeah, I borrow a couple magazines yours again? Sure. I bring him in school the next day. He looks through them. I think the words he questioned in particular were like mecha and anime and one or two others. But sure enough, he looked through them and found them all, and he raised my grade. I got an A.
Oh, there you go. Magazines for the win.
Yep.
That's funny.
But I remember paging through those, just looking at some of the stuff that was out there. Of course, it was still only scratching the surface of what there was in Japan.
True.
Yeah.
So true.
So, but I was trying to think. Okay, here's kind of an obscure one. Has anyone ever here seen an OVA called Dragon's Heaven?
I don't know what that is.
I don't think I do either.
It's a short OVA that it's kind of hard to describe, but involves like these ancient giant robots and a blonde chick.
Okay.
Like there's some kind of a war, and the hero robot had been defeated, and he was buried in the sand or something like that, and the evil one's still out there, like 1,000 years later or whatever it is, doing his thing. And exactly. And she uncovers him, and the good robot is actually a very modest type of fellow. At one point, she gets out of a bathtub, and he's like covering his eyes and handing her a towel.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, it ends with a final battle between the good robot and the bad robot. But it also opens up with a sequence that was live action. It was put together, like someone did a kit bash of the main robot while explaining the backstory. So really cool looking. If you ever get a chance to watch it, I think it's on YouTube.
I was going to say that because now that you were describing it, I'm like, wait, I think you mentioned this to us before, and then I looked it up on YouTube. I forgot the title, but now that you described the girl and the robots and all that, yeah, I believe it's on YouTube.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a pretty cool little OVA, short and obscure.
Yeah, it's an older one, but
yes,
looks very, very interesting.
Mm-hmm. Definitely worth watching, I say. So, speaking of stuff like Dragon's Heaven, can any of you recommend any so-called hidden gems for any of us?
Actually, surprisingly, I think I can.
Cowboy Bebop does not count, Mike.
Fuck you. I'm not
my
that
God.
asshole. Come on, give me some credit, please.
That escalated quickly. No.
All right, what is it? What do you got?
This sounds rather unlikely coming from... you wouldn't expect me to maybe recommend a series by the name of Princess Tutu, if you've heard of that. And
I've been meaning to see that.
it's actually very surprisingly good. It's kind of like this, I don't want to call it an out-and-out fantasy series, because it takes some rather interesting turns, I think, but it's about an adorable little duck who can also transform into a dancer girl who, it's been a while since I've seen it, so I'm a little rusty on the details, but it's sort of like a fantasy story, kind of breaking into the real world somehow, and at first it just seems like, this adorable duck girl is solving people's problems by dancing with them, but then it takes some very crazy turns that actually really had me holding on till the end. It's I don't want to describe too much, because I think this one's worth actually keeping relatively unspoiled, and B, it's been so long that I don't remember a lot of the finer details, but it is... I thought it was a very fun one. I wasn't even all that bothered by the cat teacher who kept saying that you must marry me to various girls, which...
Okay.
Normally I don't like that trope, but I don't know. I found it oddly funny in this case, probably because he was a cat person, with an actual cat head and whatnot, so it just seemed very ridiculous instead of cringy, but, Princess Tutu, I know the name sounds like it's for girls of a lower age range, but no, it's actually got a lot more than you think it would for all ages. So
I want to check it out.
But
yeah, definitely. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it just makes me
Oh
laugh.
yeah, and Snarb recommends Kaiba, which is also one I want to get on. Which I believe that's an earlier work by Masaki Yuasa, who is a very fantastically demented animator who just does some of the most visually crazy shit ever in the medium's overall existence. And yeah, I would like to get on Kaiba at some point. I keep confusing it with the name of this gambling manga that's apparently very stressful. I think that one was called Kaiji or whatever. I might not even have that name right. I don't know a lot about that one, but it's a thing too. So,
How about you, Kate?
I don't know how hidden this counts as, but one that I discovered a few years back that I really enjoy a bunch is this movie called Redline. It's a
I've seen that
racing.
one.
Yeah, it's a sci-fi racing series, or not series. It's a movie where there's this racing competition called Redline, which is held on various planets across the galaxy, and it has a lot of action, a lot of really elaborate animation, and it's a very engaging experience from start to finish. I really enjoy it a ton, and I highly recommend it.
Apparently,
It's a
everyone
very
here has seen
fucking
this except for
crazy
me.
time. I can.
Oh,
Sorry,
that's
Robert.
good.
I talked over you there. What'd you say? Sorry.
I was just saying, apparently everyone here has seen this except for me.
Okay.
It's
well,
really good.
you should
I
see
only
it.
recently, yeah.
And I recommend it. It is somewhat. I don't want to. This is probably the simplest, basicest thing I could say, but it is kind of like the closest thing to a full-on F-Zero movie that I think. Well, no, I say that, but there was actually an F-Zero anime series. Unfortunately, I don't really know much about it, except that a couple of games were specifically based off of the series. But
It's slightly comparable to F-Zero. So,
slightly, yeah. No, but it definitely does its own thing, though.
So
yeah.
basically, we have the official F-Zero anime. We have the kind of sort of F-Zero movie anime. And the kind of sort of F-Zero short anime in the form of the Running Man.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
There you go.
So, how about you, Jay?
I've been looking over my shelves of anime and like trying to think of what would be, kind of a hidden gem, but like all of them are not hidden to me. But I'm going to land on something that is a very interesting one that I saw early in the 90s, even though it came out in the 80s, is called Project Echo.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
That sounds familiar,
I
but I
remember
don't know
that.
what it's about.
I remember
Yeah,
seeing
so it's
some
about
of it.
this girl. It's good. There's a few movies and a couple of VAs. First one is probably the best, but they're all pretty good. I mean, it's loosely based about this um, girl that has superpowers, and I think her parents are supposed to be Superman and Wonder Woman or something like that, or is kind of a reference anyway. But it is a wild ride. She's just a high school girl trying to go through school with her friend Siko, and she keeps running into this girl named Biko. Awesome names, right? But they're just she's just trying to get through the school life and keep fighting this Biko girl, and then aliens come in, and there's so many crazy stuff that comes into this movie. It's just a lot of fun, very 80s anime style, and its original origins was supposed to be hentai, but they ended up going movies only. Uh, you'll see what I mean if you watch the film, though. There's a couple borderline stuff, but great music, a lot of fun. I think if you want to get into anime, this is not a bad start at all.
Sounds
One of my
fun.
first ones too. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I like Prime. I remember seeing the first OVA, but that was years ago. So speaking of that, then, is there any anime series in particular you would recommend, whether it's a series or an OVA or whatever, that you recommend someone else to get into? Like your own, like maybe one of your favorites if someone hasn't seen it.
This is where I'm going to be a elitist dick and say that I don't think that Hayao Miyazaki is the greatest anime film director of all time, because I think that moniker belongs to the late great Satoshi Kon, if anyone's familiar with his works.
What do you do again?
What kind of works do you do? Yeah.
Well, shit, I guess I'm the authority here. He did 4 films. You must have heard of at least one of them. That would be Perfect Blue,
Okay.
Millennium Actress, Tokyo Godfathers,
Oh, yeah.
and Paprika. And all 4 of them are extremely fucking good, and I couldn't even tell you which one's necessarily my favorite across them. But there are some really entertaining and just visually fantastic and just very conceptually interesting works that I don't know which one I would recommend if you were only to go with one. Possibly Paprika, because I think I've seen that one twice, whereas I've only seen the others of his once so far, but you really can't go wrong with any of them. He also did do a 13-episode series by the name of Paranoia Agent, which I've only just now gotten into, and more so than Perfect Blue, is easily his darkest work, and I will definitely put out a content warning or two if you want to get into that one, because it's really stressful, but it's also really good if you're able to stomach some gross behaviors, one character in particular, but
Isn't that the one with the strange opening where everybody's like kind of laughing or something?
Yes, the one where everyone's laughing. Yes, that's exactly the one.
Oh boy.
And I really like what I've seen this so far, but yes, it is a pretty horrifying watch at times, but I am really enjoying it so far, and just a huge fan of Satoshi Kon. Sadly passed away way too goddamn soon from smoking-induced cancer, if I'm not mistaken. Really a shame. Don't smoke, kids. But he was a goddamn genius, and the world is definitely poor for his absence, I feel. Not to be too dark, but it is still a shame, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kate, how about you?
A series that we recommend.
Series, OVA, whichever one that you would recommend someone who hasn't seen it to check out.
I mean, I don't have much experience with mech-related stuff in general, but I personally really enjoy Full Metal Panic a ton. I got into that in high school, and over the last year or so, I rewatched the entire series, including Invisible Victory, which came out in the late 2010s and I'd never seen up until last year. And I really enjoy it a ton. I think it's a fun series that it does a good job of mixing together comedy and drama, as well as action and some romance. And at times the tone shifts dramatically depending on where the characters are at. And I think it manages to balance all of those elements very well together. And the main protagonist in particular, Sagara Sosuke, I think is a very interesting, entertaining character. I really enjoy watching him a ton, whether it's his sillier moments in the slice of life sections of the story or his serious, dramatic action set pieces that he has. He's a great character.
Cool.
I always like his line that he says, "Not a problem."
Yeah, I am vaguely familiar with that series, but from a distance, I think it does look quite fun, and I maybe at least want to get into like the first run series of it someday. Although I am a little concerned because there's one pervert character in it who sucks, and you hated him. But
Urs Weber is not the greatest character, but
But he's not a deal breaker, you'd say.
His presence didn't keep me from enjoying the series, especially upon rewatch.
Okay, cool. That's all I wanted to know.
Sure.
That's one I remember
It
hearing
definitely
about.
does have. It's good.
I remember hearing
the action
about
pieces are good.
I just never saw it for whatever reason. So, Jay, what about you? What one would you recommend in particular?
Well, so far, all the ones that have been recommended, definitely recommended. But I say I'm going to go with one that is another one that I found in when I was at the anime club called Blue Seed. Very 90s anime.
Sorry, what was that? Yeah, my thing effed out.
Oh, Blue Seed.
Blue Seed.
Not familiar with that.
No,
I'm not either.
okay. Well, it's about a group of characters that are trying to fight these giant monsters that come from the Blue Seed. There's a couple of main characters that are trying to save the world. One of them gets these blue seeds on him, and he fights to protect the girl that's trying to stop everything because it's a typical 90s anime monster of the week thing for a little while, and then it gets into the main story. But it's a lot of fun. Yeah, I don't know what else I could say about it besides the things that they do at the end of the episodes. That sometimes they'll throw in what is called an onomaki theater, so they'll have these little joke scenes in the show itself, like making fun of saying, "Oh, check out our Blue Seed the movie," which will never happen, and things like that. So I think you'll have a good time with it. And I think that would be a nice gateway into anime again as well.
Nice.
Oh, cool then.
Now, I've been sitting here racking my brain trying to think of exactly what I'd recommend myself. Mainly because I've already talked about so many of them. And I've seen so many others over the years that it's all kind of starting to blur together. Stuff like that just came to my head. Like Dominion Tank Police, Appleseed, Lum, Outlanders. Stuff like that. And, geez, there's just so much. But, so I'm going to go with just probably something I've already said, which would be Area 88. It's condensed into basically 3 episodes. They're movie length, but still, it's, I guess you can call it a 3-part thing or whatnot. But it basically sums up everything that happens in the manga series, which is pretty long, and condenses it down to where most of that's still there. And you definitely get a horror war kind of feeling there. And plus you get to see some really cool aircraft in the late 70s and early 80s.
Nice.
So, yeah, I'll go with that.
Nice.
No problem there.
Now, there is one I've been meaning to watch myself, which is Golf Force.
Golf Wars?
No, Golf Force.
Golf Force, gotcha, okay.
You remember the Famicom Disk System game, Golf Force Eternal Story?
That actually does sound vaguely familiar. It was a shoot 'em up and your ship was kind of big.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I do remember this somehow.
Well, I was reading up on the series online, and it sounds like it just gets really wacky after a couple of through the different series, because apparently it's divided up into several. And I don't mean wacky like funny, just wacky like, okay, what the hell?
You mean like Krusty, After Worker, and Parasite?
A little bit. The hell was that? End it? Hot take. Well, we did the Simpsons stream already. But
yeah, that's true.
Yeah, that, and I gotta finish watching my box set of Zillion.
Yeah, anyway.
It was given to me as a Father's Day gift one year, and I have not worked my way through the whole thing yet.
That's a fairly long series, isn't it?
And not too long, not too short either. But that came with the entire series plus the OVA, Burning Night.
Nice.
So one of these days I will go ahead and finish watching that. It'll happen, trust me. Now,
You will.
on the complete opposite, what anime would you not recommend to someone that you've seen?
High School of the Dead.
What?
There's High School of the Dead, which I recommend it for shits and giggles, but as a straight watch, it is it's a zombie series about a bunch of about some guy and then a nerd and then like 4 really hot, well-endowed women fighting against a bunch of zombies.
Because of course.
It starts out kind of like horror, but for better or worse, it kind of devolves into a harem anime.
Pretty much.
Wow.
Oh, Jay, you're familiar with it, so...
Oh, I have it, yes. So,
is it out of line for me to recommend against viewing it, or do you understand why I would say that?
Oh, I definitely understand. I like it for its schlock, but
Schlock, yes. If you're looking for just straight up unabashed, like
service.
C grade, even D grade schlock and blood and tits and all that, like, you know, it is what it is, but like, it's also it's not great. My booby sniper rifle. Yes, if you see that gif, that's
Yeah, I was laughing at that. Thanks.
yeah. It's semi-famous, semi-infamous. On a more serious note, there's also a little bit of a subtle kind of, or not subtle. I don't know. Some might makes right conservative politics kind of snuck in there too, which is more odious than any of the other subjects. So that's, if I'm anti-recommending it for a more serious reason, that would be why. But yeah, for the most part,
I watched it for the girls and the guns and the zombies and like this is a bad anime, but it's funny.
yeah, it's.
Girls, Guns, and Zombies sounds like a great time on paper.
On paper,
yes. I am so glad you've seen that so you can back me up on this, Jay. But, yeah, if you don't mind your brain, like, degrading for whatever half hour or whatever you spend to view it, then, just sit back, enjoy it for what it is, and nothing more beyond that. So, yeah, High School of the Dead is my anti-recommendation. You have the right mindset to want to view it, and that is, I want to waste my brain on the lowest common denominator possible in Japanese animation form. So, yeah, that's what I would say.
Now, to be fair, the music's pretty good. The animation is pretty sharp. But yeah, I agree with you.
And Kate, how about you?
So the thing that I would not recommend, first thing that comes to mind for me is a video game adaptation, and that would be the Trails in the Sky SC OVA.
Oh yeah, you've talked about how bad the animation is.
I mean, the animation itself is okay. There's like a couple things that I would praise about it. Some of the music arrangements of tracks from the game are pretty neat, and a couple of the fight scenes are sort of impressive, I guess. But, oh yeah, it also is the source of this one GIF that has Estelle getting kicked in the middle of trying to attack a bad guy, and that became kind of a meme on the internet for a while. So those few seconds are kind of amusing, but for the most part, I think the Trails in the Sky OVA is absolute garbage for several reasons.
Aw.
One particular thing that is very weird about it is that the name, it's just called The Legend of Heroes Trails in the Sky, which it shares the name with the first game, even though it's an adaptation of the second game and not the first game.
Well, that's
And
weird.
even
That's
if you look at
there.
even if you look at English descriptions of the show, it gives you the basic plot description of the first game's premise, even though that's not what this is. It's adapting the second game. So if you'd go into it not having played both of the first two Trails in the Sky games, you will have no idea what's going on. And even if you have played both of the first two Trails in the Sky games, you'll have no idea what's going on because it is so heavily compressed and it cuts out so many aspects of the story to the point where the main villain doesn't even show up in it, and a couple other major characters don't show up in it. It's heavily abridged, and probably the most offensive thing about it to me is that the main protagonist, Estelle Bright, is one of my favorite characters in all of fiction. I really adore her. She has a great character arc from the start of the first game, where she's more immature and still has a ways to go, up to the end of the arc, where she has grown a lot as a person and in her job as a bracer. And she's a really awesome person, and I like her story a bunch. But this OVA, it treats her as if she had no character development at all, and she still acts not just as, but even more immature than she did at the start of the first game. And it's just offensive to me. I really hate what they did with it, so I really hate this OVA. It's not even fun to watch as like something to shit on. It's just do not watch it.
That's bad.
Yeah, that does sound like a big whiff when you put it that way. Like, the gif of a cell getting kicked is horribly funny to me, but if that's like the only thing of value that it offers, and that's pretty goddamn like negative points.
It's a real
there.
shame.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it makes me not want to watch that.
Yep.
I'm going through the game myself, the first one right now, and I'm absolutely enjoying the game.
Oh my
So-
gosh, that's awesome. I'm happy to hear.
Yeah. Well, I love RPGs in general, but JRPGs is definitely my jam, and I like the idea of the expanded story when it comes to the Legends series. So many games in that series now. But
Oh yeah, totally. Like over 10 of them at this point.
yeah. But to butcher it in that way, oh man, that sucks. Yeah, I
Yeah.
definitely won't watch it. Oh my god.
Hmm.
So that's it, Jay. What about you?
Well, there is going to be one that I definitely don't have, and I'm glad I don't, because after watching this, my brain hurts. Is Ninja Gaiden the anime?
Oh, hey, we actually saw that some months back. It was underwhelming.
Yeah, to say the least. The really screwed up the story. So I like Irene. Some of the battles are okay, then it just ends abruptly, and the story was not good. It's just like you think Ninja Gaiden would be a perfect way to do an anime. Like they do the anime style cutscenes almost in the games. Like how hard is it to do as an OAV? But no, it's not good at all. The Ryu, like he takes his mask off all the time in that show, and
Yeah.
Does he even
yeah,
have
I
a
mean, he
mask or
does it
anything?
kind of. I think he had it like once. I don't remember now.
Uh,
I
But,
think for at least like a few seconds, and that's it.
Some
Yeah.
fucking Stallone is Judge Dredd bullshit, sounds like.
I am
Yeah.
the law.
It's, he shows his
fair,
face way more than Stallone did in the Judge Dredd movie.
Shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To be fair, he does that in the games too, but not most of the time he doesn't. But anyway, that's
He
like,
does it at the very end of each game, but not
for the most
not
part,
every
yeah.
game.
Yeah.
And I think they butchered Irene in that too.
Oh yeah.
Look what they
Robert
did to
was
my
okay.
girl.
Yeah, like
Hey, look how they massacred
that
my
is-
girl.
But if you want to like lose some brain cells and whatnot, then you can probably find it on YouTube. But I wouldn't go for it. Just play the games.
I would say I don't think it's terrible. It's just so unremarkable. Mediocrity is not usually something I associate with as great a series as Ninja Gaiden, so it is just a very unnecessary program, and it's frustrating that there's this feeling that it could have just been so much more, and that it was just like one of the most generic OVAs you could ask for. So,
Agreed.
yeah, no, I agree with you.
Yeah, very sad.
Not there's just so much more that deserves your attention first. So,
Yeah.
Well, especially coming from, I just rewatched the first Fatal Fury OAV. That had a much better storyline, and it's the same length. They did it so well, and it was fast paced, but like you understood the story, you understood the characters, you know the motivations, you know this and that.
yeah.
I don't know how they messed it up with Ninja Gaiden. Like they crammed way too much into and made it into a mess. But yeah, that's my non-recommendation, I guess.
Yeah. Well,
Totally fair.
I'd have to say, despite the fact that I have some fond memories of making fun of it, and it's available for anyone who wants to watch it right now, for the love of God, do not watch Conan the Barbarian. It is so terrible. And I am not kidding.
Aw.
It was on my top of my list. No, I'm kidding.
Just, it's, the dialogue and the, I just, psychic dogs and someone named Anus Andy, and it's just,
Fuck. Jesus Christ, Denton.
Okay.
and it's just, it is, oh God, I want to say it, but I don't want to say it. Fine, Deldonian sword. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah.
Just,
Okay.
for the love of God,
Wait,
don't
they-
ever watch that.
Wow, they beat Saints Row the Third to the punch with that.
They did, yes. The almighty dildo you can use in that game. It's actually a pretty powerful melee weapon.
Well, here's the thing.
Somehow.
If you
That's hilarious.
If you
It
push
is,
this
yes.
button, it'll shoot out a heavy sticky fluid that'll paralyze your opponents for up to 9 full months.
Jesus, fuck. That does sound pretty bad, yeah.
That was a line
Wow.
that stood
Yeah.
out.
Oh boy, Denton.
We got a
Oh,
lot
boy.
of mileage out of that one back in the day.
Yeah.
But,
I'm sure.
yeah, on the at least watchable, but still I wouldn't recommend it side of things, if you manage to track down a copy of Warriors of the Wind, also just stay away from it. Watch Nausicaa.
Yeah, that sounds
Yeah.
about right.
Nausicaa. Yeah.
Yeah.
Highly recommend as well, with you, Rob.
Yeah, definitely.
From what we watched in the past.
Gonad sounds like a parody that'd be an actual comedy. Yeah, unfortunately, it's. Let's talk about something nice, shall we?
I'm gonna stick with Conan the Librarian from UHF instead.
Conan the Librarian. Can you tell me where to find a
watch your
book
books
on
late.
astronomy? Don't you know the
you
Dewey
know?
Decimal System? These books are a little late.
Splat.
But
Still a treasure of a movie. But yes.
on the subject of something more fun to talk about, who remembers Samurai Pizza Cats?
Oh, I never watched it, but I did hear an announcement regarding it recently.
I actually
I
watched a few
watched
episodes
some of it.
back in the day. It was hilarious.
Nice.
Yeah, I saw a few. Funnily enough, my first introduction to Samurai Pizza Cats was through this I guess, fan fiction that I saw online in the 2000s, which was called Battle of the Video Game Heroes. And it was based around putting a bunch of video game characters in and having them fight each other. And the first season of that fanfic had a bunch of non-video game characters as well. And then, in an attempt to rein things in, season two of that fanfic only had video game characters, with one exception, that being the entire cast of Samurai Pizza Cats who would appear. And I had no idea what Samurai Pizza Cats was, but that fanfic introduced me to them. And then some years later, I went and actually watched a few episodes of the cartoon, and it's a good time. It's pretty entertaining, and I now own this set on Blu-ray.
Nice.
I've been meaning to watch it in full.
I'm glad to see that so many people here remember the Samurai Pizza Cats.
Yeah.
And, of course, yes, everyone's already heard the news. There is a Samurai Pizza Cats game coming out.
Totally.
Which looks almost like a Goemon game.
Excellent. Yeah, I'll have to look into it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel like this is a property I really should have gotten on, but like a lot. There's a lot from the 80s and 90s of that make that I sadly just passed over. So yeah, I could probably do to look more into SPC, but it sounds like delightfully fun and goofy series. Sounds like something I could get into. So
yeah,
tell you
just
what,
make sure you watch the. Go ahead. Sorry, I was just going to say, just make sure you watch the dub version.
Yeah,
gotcha. The dub is superior.
I've never seen the Japanese version, but it's a situation where my understanding is that the people who did the dub did not have access to the original scripts, so they just had to make it up, and that's why Samurai Pizza Cats became as ridiculous as it is.
Yep.
The Ted Woolsey method.
And just say, Sharon, I do believe it is coming out on Switch.
Nice. Very nice.
Mm-hmm. But, yeah, now what some people may or may not realize is that this is not the first Samurai Pizza Cats game.
Sure, that is true.
The first one was, I saw someone refer to it once as Baby's First Ninja Gaiden.
Yeah, it was on the Famicom, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm. And it's a fun little game.
I think the Japanese version is called, I think, Kyoto Nendan Teiyandi, right?
You are correct.
Yeah.
Okay.
The Famicom game is good fun. If this is anything like that, it's going to be just as fun.
Neato.
And now I'd like to see if I could track down the DVD set or Blu-ray set or whatever.
I want the Blu-ray set so bad.
Yeah, that would be nice. It would slot in nicely with my Zillion set over there.
It's like the only Blu-ray set that I'm aware of that's specifically a standard definition Blu-ray, so it just has all of the episodes on a single disc, but it's in standard definition instead of HD.
Interesting.
That's fair. I mean,
but since that's how it was aired, I'm not too bothered by that.
Yeah, as long as the transfer is good. I distinctly recall once, and this is back, when DVDs were still huge. Anyone ever see a Leslie Nielsen movie called Repossessed? It was a parody of The Exorcist.
Not familiar with that.
I have not seen it, no.
I rented that on VHS way back when. Watched it over and over and over. Thought it was the funniest thing ever. Years went by. I didn't have a copy of it, but I found the DVD at Walmart or something like that. Well, it was $5, so I grabbed it. And I brought it home, popped it in. The first thing I noticed is that the transfer was horrendous. It was like watching a dub of a dub of a dub of a dub of a VHS tape.
Copy of a copy of a, like that Nine Inch Nails song?
Yeah, exactly. The second thing was, it was nowhere near as funny as I remembered.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah. So, yeah, you might want to stick with the clips, Prime. But then again, your mileage may vary. So, yeah, I got rid of the DVD shortly thereafter and have not seen it since.
Alas.
I see.
So, but yeah, so as long as the transfer is good, at least, I'd have no problem with that Blu-ray of the Samurai Pizza Cats.
Mm-hmm.
But
Same.
it was like, where did that come from? From all of a sudden.
The new game, I
Yeah.
was not expecting that. I just saw that on the Facebook feed, and I'm like, oh, really? I'm gonna share this out.
That's like I went and saw Captain America: Brave New World the other day, and at the beginning they showed a trailer for a new Karate Kid movie,
That's true.
Oh, yeah.
and it's like,
I heard
and
something about those.
this is a movie that actually brings together the original Karate Kid series and that one starring Jaden Smith. Really?
That's
Yep.
fucking
Oh, really?
crazy. That's fucking
That's cool.
crazy.
Yeah, because
Yeah, you have Daniel LaRusso, and
Jackie Chan's going to be in this one, and he's playing the same character he played in the Jaden Smith Karate Kid.
Awesome.
Well, that's fair. That's fair then.
Yeah, so that's the kind of thing we should have got with Evil Dead when they did, if they'd ever done a sequel to Evil Dead 2013.
Yeah, and a friend of ours apparently hated Evil Dead Rise, unfortunately. I've actually heard some good buzz about that, but I trust our friend more than the Vox Populi, so I still haven't gotten around to it.
I will eventually.
Yeah, that's a fair way of putting it.
It's like, I can't even say it's a lack of Ash as to why I haven't seen it yet, because I saw 2013 and Ash is in that for like 2 seconds at the very end after the credits.
Yeah, exactly.
So, we're getting a little off topic though. Anyway, although, all right, let me throw some rhetorical questions in. If you could see any anime based on a property, that, like, which property would you like to see it based on?
I honestly don't know how to respond to that. Could you give an example first? Because
Okay.
I'm not exactly sure. what
I'll
based
give it to you in
on
3
is.
words: Evil Dead anime.
Oh, I see.
okay.
So think about that for a minute and let me know what you think. And it can be from anything:
Are we-
TV, movies, video games, whatever.
Are we allowed to pick something that has already been adapted to anime in the past?
Yeah, why not?
Okay. Well, then I'll pick the Trails series. I
Good
think
trails, yeah.
it would be nice to have like a long form anime TV series that attempts to adapt all of the trails in this, not just Trails in the Sky, but also the Crossbell arc, the Erebonia arc, and the Calvert arc. It would be really exciting to see all of that handled in as complete a form as reasonably manageable, and I would totally want to check that out.
I
Right.
definitely concur with that.
Yeah, especially what you said about that last one. So how about
The
you?
last one?
Well,
Oh, yeah.
that one
the,
you were
Oh,
Breaking
yeah.
Bad series.
yeah, your non-recommendation there.
Yeah, true.
Mike or Jay, either of you guys got one yet?
I got one.
All right, go for it.
There has been a couple anime series of it before, but not this particular video game series. And that's the Dot Hack, the one with what's his name? The first Dot Hack game series. It was 4 games. I would love to see an anime series completely based on that. That would have been really neat to see.
Oh, yeah.
But they had like Dot Hack, Spine, and I think there was another one. But would have been that
I vaguely
first
remember that.
game. Yeah, it's from the PS2, where you play this character. It's like playing an MMORPG, but an actual RPG because you're not online for real, but you play a character that's playing online. But I would have loved to see a series of that.
Yeah, I know Dot Hack is a thing, but it's a huge blind spot in my pop culture collective, but I gather it's a fairly extensive series, and it does sound interesting from what little I've heard of it. But yeah, I'll take it. Actually, I thought there already was something anime based related to it, but if it's just remained a game series, then yeah, it kind of sounds like a fair choice.
Well,
for that.
There was. It was called Dot Hack Sign. The one I'm talking about is the first game series that came out. They don't have an actual series based on that particular storyline. Whereas like Dot Hack Infection, Mutation, Outbreak, and Quarantine. You're playing this one guy from that. And I would have liked to see an anime series of that. But trying to think of the guy's name. Yeah, I can't think of the main character's name. But the Dahak Stein one, though, is just the character that got stuck in the MMORPG and trying to find a way out.
Okay.
So it's a whole different storyline altogether. But this is something I would like to see, but it's just, it's hard to figure out what other ones I could think of at this point in time. Kate did mention a good one that I would like to see personally, too. So maybe I'll think of another one after.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, Mike, what about you?
Anyone who knows me could probably see this coming a mile away, but there's a little interesting caveat. Fuck you, man.
God.
What? I didn't hear
that. I'm sorry, Mike.
Face the fact I'm not the biggest fan of that game. I still like it. But everyone thinks that like I wanted to fucking die in a goddamn alley in the back of a Shady Deals building. I don't. Come on. I guess I dug this own pit for myself, but quit it.
All right, go ahead. What's your real idea?
At any rate, this answer has a caveat or two with it, but anyone who knows me knows that I am a hopeless fanboy of the series that started in the West known as Yakuza, but has late in the game changed its brand to Like a Dragon. So either name works for it. I guess Like a Dragon is the more official one now. About very tough-looking guys with hearts of gold that flip the switch between serious crime dramas and incredibly zany, almost amusement park-like side activities. It is a series with much running on a lot of layers, and I've been really huge on it since the late 2000s, and I think this year is actually the series' 20th anniversary, surprisingly, so it's really hung in there for a while. And I think it would be natural for an anime adaptation where you could devote like 13 episodes to the story of the first game, 13 to the second. Every game could be a 13-episode arc, and I would totally be up for that if someone would be up to the challenge. What I'm saying there's a caveat is that there was already a movie based on Like a Dragon, directed by Takashi Miike, if you can believe it. It's a fairly weird movie that's a very loose adaptation of the first game, and I mean extremely loose. Like, it has some shit in it that is not... I've somehow seen nowhere in any of the games, like this weird pair of bank robbers that acts like a manzai comedy duo, which is kind of stupid, but I guess with Miike's generally manic... Yeah, fine, my egg on my face for that one. Miike and weird is like eggs and sausage, basically. It's not surprising, but yeah.
Good breakfast food?
Yeah, why not? Peanut butter and jelly, I guess. I don't know what, I guess I'm hungry. Oh, we've been at this for a while. But the film is, the series is just kind of starting out, so the film is as rudimentary a take as you would expect on a series. I think at that point it only had like 2 games, so like it is what it is. But believe it or not, last year, Like a Dragon also got a live-action mini-series, which I think is sort of like a bit also trying to adapt the first game a bit, but also brings in some things from the prequel game, Yakuza 0. And I thought that like this would be a more earnest chance to do something with the series outside of a games medium that would be more interesting. And by the way, I think this ran on like Amazon Prime or something. I haven't seen it, but surprise, surprise, the reviews were incredibly mixed. And I hear that it really goes in its own directions that are way off the line with what the games do. And like that's like adaptations, you expect some differences, so that's not really my issue. My issue is that it sounds like they just kind of got the character of Kazuma Kiryu kind of not wrong. Like, they have him be more of a dick than he generally is in the games. Feels like he never really gets over being a young, hot-blooded punk, even in his later years, and he's just kind of... Like, this is just what I heard. I couldn't tell you exactly for sure, so... But it does kind of sound like the live-action adaptation was underwhelming, so... I think to redeem Like a Dragon outside of the games, I think it would be a very natural fit for an anime series. I mean, hell, the games themselves get anime as hell. Like, if anyone knows the climax of Yakuza 4 in particular, that is some crazy shonen bullshit. It's stupid, but I mostly like it. And yeah, so Like a Dragon's an anime, seems like a natural fit. Someone do it.
You know, whenever you mention
get your
like,
wish.
yeah, you may not want to get your wish.
Oh my gosh. Well, I'm rooting for you.
Why is my wish less valid than their wishes?
Well, that's just it. Be careful what you wish for. It might happen, and it might suck. That kind of goes for everyone here, including my idea.
Okay, yeah. I just didn't want to be singled out again.
No.
Also, yeah, sure, I guess get a Chrono anime in there. Why not? I'm sure some people will love it.
Oh, undoubtedly. But it's funny though. You say it's called Like a Dragon now.
Yeah, it's a kind of a straighter adaptation of what the series has always been called in Japan, which is Ryuga Gotoku, which, Like a Dragon, is a sort of more literal take on that. I think it was called Yakuza at first because that's usually like a word you associate with I mean, it is a word for Japanese crime syndicates, and like the very early marketing for the game was kind of trying to glom onto that sweet Grand Theft Auto money, even though anyone who calls the series Japanese GTA is a fucking idiot who's obviously never played the games before. Wow, I sound like a real aggressive nerd here.
It's a lot more like River City Ransom than it is GTA.
Yeah, that's a great description. Our friend Weasels also said that it's more like a Kunio action RPG in 3D form. That's actually a really good way of putting it. So, thank you.
Sure. Well, here's the thing. When it was called Yakuza, all I could think of was that bit on The Simpsons where...
yes.
The little guy. He's going to do something cool.
We'll go decide that's what happened.
They'll kill you 5 times before they hit the ground.
and now that it's being called Like a Dragon, it's like... Yeah, does his theme song, is it like a parody of Like a Virgin or what?
Oh, boy.
Hang on. I'm just going to dignify that with one of these. The latter name is maybe a little awkward and clunky, but I can see why they wanted to change it, because there have been some spin-offs of the series that aren't strictly about the Yakuza, and I guess they thought the name was kind of binding to that, so it is what it is.
Like a dragon, killing for the very first time.
Actually, there's a meme about how Kiryu doesn't kill anyone, but there are a few semi-accidental pieces of evidence against that. It's weird. It's weird. Stop me before I talk too much about this series, because I could really go on about it.
In that case, it's my turn.
Go ahead.
Please do.
Okay. Well, I'm going to be completely and totally predictable for me. We need a Splatterhouse anime.
Fuck yeah.
One
Definitely.
that covers at least the first two games, if they're going to just do a single OVA, as well as the time in between the two games. Mm-hmm. You know, you can introduce a few extra characters into the mix, but I want to see horror designs straight out of, you know, classic anime horror from the 80s and 90s. Mm-hmm. And, you know, if they wanted to use some stuff from, say, a certain piece I wrote to explain what happened to Rick during those 3 months, I'd be okay with that.
I would like to see this as well. I would say I'm somewhat surprised that something like that hasn't been done before, but I believe all around the world, even in its own company, Splatterhouse was always pretty niche, so I guess that explains that.
But just imagine what this could look like.
Really fucking cool is what it would look like, yeah.
Prime said it best. 90s Splatterhouse anime would be beautiful.
Oh, yes.
Gorgeous and horrifying, absolutely.
And also, I want the mask the voice actor needs to be menacing, not sarcastic and snarky, which was great for Splatterhouse 2010. Or as I put it in that one story I wrote, it's like, before I was just evil. Now I'm evil and snarky.
There are several anime voice actors in both Japan and the West who are known for playing villains fairly frequently and are also very deep voiced. What comes to my mind first is Joji Nakata and Norio Wakamoto, that latter of which who's been M. Bison in the Street Fighter series for a while, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, something really deep and growly and hellish like that. That'd be great.
Castlevania anime. We're not going to touch that at the moment, but I will just say that is in terms of the Splatterhouse one, I want the mask to be the thing that Rick actually fears the most.
I could see that. Yeah,
you could tell how
angle it's.
Yeah, you could tell how inherently evil this thing is. And
yeah, that's an angle that's semi-downplayed in the games, I feel, but that's mostly because the medium can't really convey it as well. But you do kind of get hints, especially when it says, "You need me." In the second game, that's pretty disturbing credo there. But
and considering by the end of the third game, it does reveal that, you know, well, I used you to get rid of the evil one, so now it's my turn.
Yep. The old, I guess you were basically like, I was going to say Yojimbo, but I might not be getting the plot of that too. Real Castlevania anime, that Prime says.
Yes. So as long as I'll finish up the Splatterhouse here. As long as they made it very dark, very disturbing, and did all the other things I said, then it stands a chance of being good if they were to actually do it.
Totally, yeah.
Yes, let's talk about Castlevania, shall we? I'm not even sure if you could really consider that anime. Would you?
Well, yeah. If Sharon doesn't know, Castlevania did get an animated adaptation starting in 2017 that ran on Netflix, and I'm not sure if the sequel series does. I don't remember,
it does.
But okay, it does.
If you want to get nitpicky about it, technically in Japan, people in Japan just call all animation anime, regardless of where it originates from.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I guess we can call it an anime.
Mm-hmm.
I suppose. It's like it does. Its animation does feel more evocative of Japanese animation as opposed to Western, and for what it's worth, like it is fairly lavish. But I know the series has drawn criticism for example, the very first episode having a bar patron talk about someone having sex with a goat. So
Yeah,
that's not in the Castlevania games I played. So
Yeah.
what
Wait,
the
you
fuck?
mentioned that like it's a bad thing? That was a great scene.
I mean, it was hilarious for what it was, but it's just not what comes to my mind when Castlevania is discussed. That's all.
Okay.
The series has issues. The fact that Warren Ellis was responsible for writing, I think the entire first series, which reached its low point in season 3.
I've not seen season 3 yet.
There's one episode in particular where it slams into the ground, and luckily season 4 actually brings it out of that, and it's actually pretty decent.
Yeah.
But yeah, real Castlevania. That's one thing. Okay, Konami has this massive library of music. Could they use any of it for this series? Yeah, maybe 1 or 2 tracks, sure. They've got a crap load of classic enemies. Could they use it for this series? Well, maybe 1 or 2 that are kind of reminiscent of them. Or
I think Slogra and Gaibon were in one episode, maybe.
Well, I know the Grand Falloon was.
Oh, well, that's cool, at least.
And at least, for the most part, they got the hero character designs fairly well done.
Yeah.
I love the character designs.
Alucard looks like Alucard. Sypha looks like Sypha.
Sure. Sypha's adorable, yeah.
And then
I appreciate that they did not make Trevor look like a pilot.
Yeah.
Oh, you're referring to the fucking Captain
Captain
N
N
version of
throwback
Simon
there.
Belmont. Well, okay,
come on.
credit where it's like I've only seen the first 2 seasons so far, and I thought it was interesting, but it was also not exactly what I expected or necessarily wanted out of an animated adaptation of Castlevania.
There's a lot
which...
of unnecessary profanity in it too. I mean, I got nothing against swearing, but it's just kind of really pushes it overboard.
For what it's worth,
It's
a
fucking awesome.
friend of mine unfavorably compared it to Game of Thrones, which take that as you will. I don't know, but like, I still I still thought it was a good enough ride for what it was, but I've still stayed away from season 3 because I've heard it gets iffy in several ways.
Really, just that one episode is rock bottom. And everything before and after that is okay. Honestly, I like Trevor and Sypha's story in that season more than Alucard's. And that's another thing.
Well.
Warren Ellis also apparently was sticking with Konami USA's version of Castlevania 3 when he wrote this.
Oh, no.
And not only doing that, but
really?
saying things like, well, why would we have a pirate in this? Because Grant did not show up. And it's like, there were no pirates in landlocked Europe. And it's like, dude, he was a gypsy acrobat. He wasn't a pirate.
Yeah. I think
for
I
the record, that's not a term. That term is frowned upon.
Yeah, Romani, you'd want to say, Rob. Just...
Sorry, I was just going by what I've read.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah, I think I gave this comparison at least once to Rob, but Grant is easily to the Castlevania 3 quartet what Winston Zeddemore is to Ghostbusters, so...
True.
Poor guy.
Yeah, at least they managed to reference him in season 4. Although not the character directly, but there was definitely some stuff there.
Oh, that's cool. I guess that's a mea culpa for what it is.
I do plan to eventually catch up on it, partly because I want to see the new thing that they're doing based on Rondo of Blood, since Rondo of Blood is my favorite game in the series.
It's a very loosely based, I can tell you that.
I mean, that's fair. I'm still curious to see how it compares.
Well, let
But
me just.
for the record, I do think it would be fun to have an anime that's just like exactly in the style of Rondo of Blood. Like complete with Maria like throwing animals at enemies.
Totally.
That'd be fun to see, actually.
Yeah. But here's the thing. They basically take place in what you can consider an alternate continuity because neither series follows the events of the games closely at all.
I see.
And it's like everyone was expecting in season 2 or series 2 that part of it was going to be basically an adaptation of Symphony of the Night. And, well, that ended up not being the case.
Oh, I've heard, yeah. It is what it is, I'm sure.
And, of course, they skipped Simon Belmont completely. Arguably the most
Yeah,
famous
that-
Belmont.
That rooks me a little bit, I'm not going to lie.
Same.
Mm-hmm.
Give
I
Simon
mean-
a true Dave, not Captain N style.
Yeah.
I mean, Simon Belmont's story is basically he goes to Castlevania and he fights Dracula.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
he does have the simplest, most straightforward arc, but this is something I batted around to Rob once or twice, that someone who's good at directing
yes.
minimalistically worded, awesome action is Samurai Jack's Gendy Tartakovsky.
Oh,
So-
yeah, that would be a good fit.
That would be amazing. Yes, absolutely. I know we're getting kind of straying away from anime now, but yeah, a Simon anime done by Tartakovsky, it would just basically be like just do it like Primal in the 1600s or whatever time frame that Castlevania took place, and fuck, that's all you need. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, and
Perhaps.
if you actually get to see him go up against the major bosses of the series, plus fighting his way through hordes of zombies and skeletons and bats and Medusa heads and all the other cool stuff,
Yeah, exactly.
then we can start
You know,
referring.
it would be. Go ahead.
Like I said, if that happened, then we can start referring to the Netflix series as Lord's Shadow.
Oh my
Oh,
God.
come on, man. That's a little too far. That's a little too... Don't say things we can't take back.
It would be a truly authentic series if you had an entire episode dedicated to dodging Medusa head in a clock tower.
Yeah, I could see that. Like, that would
Oh,
be
yeah.
at least a 5-minute action sequence that Tartakovsky could do. So
Yeah.
that'd be excellent.
Oh yeah,
It's free real estate.
yeah. What's the matter, Konami? You don't like money anymore? Oh wait, they
No,
don't.
apparently not.
Are they still on their NFT thing?
Oh, fuck. I can't keep up with that anymore. I have absolutely no idea.
They are sitting so hard on so many games they could be re-releasing right now that the games are, the pile is so big that it's practically going up their collective asses.
I mean, to be fair, they've at least put out 3 Castlevania collections now, but they still have some stuff they need to get around to re-releasing, like
Rebirth.
the Konami Rebirth trilogy.
Yes.
Oh, a Simon's Quest anime. That would be certainly more elaborate. Could Gendy do that, I wonder? That definitely require more dialogue. But
Well, that's what I was
true.
thinking. You can mix the first 2 games into an anime series.
I could see that working.
Simon's
that would be
Bogus
great.
Journey.
Yeah.
Focus
It's pretty
journey.
much. That's a great way of putting it. Yes.
So, in a way, that's kind of like my idea with Splatterhouse. You put the first 2 games into this, hour and a half long OVA.
Yeah, exactly.
I can see it. Wait, so if that's Simon's Bogus Journey, which one's Simon's Excellent Adventure, and when does Simon face the music?
I suppose he faces the music in Haunted Castle Revisited.
No, there's that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm still amazed that actually released, and yeah, I've had a blast with it.
I should try that at some point.
It's short, and even by Castlevania standards, it's actually a pretty easy game in my opinion. But it's still very fun, and it's much more preferable to the arcade original. So yeah, definitely give it a peek sometime.
Yeah.
Cool stuff.
Totally.
So on the topic of anime,
Yes.
Yeah, the thing that we formed this roundtable for, and we probably haven't been talking about for the past 20 minutes. Sorry, everybody.
Well, that's out of almost 3 hours, so it's not too bad.
Yeah.
I guess so. Yeah, fair
that's
point.
true.
Mhm.
I have been meaning to get around to watching more anime in general. I've still got a lot of anime OVAs that I want to watch.
Actually, yeah, that is a question I wanted to bring up. Is there any one series in particular that you'd like to get to that you haven't yet?
Oh gosh.
Oh, there's so many.
Yeah.
I mean, there are like more than I could name. Like, I guess
yeah.
one that I mentioned earlier is that I want to check out is Record of Lodoss War, since I've heard good things about it. I also have been curious about this OVA series called Legend of the Galactic Heroes, which is apparently really good, but I have not seen any of it yet.
I myself
sounds-
would. Yeah. You were saying, Mike?
Yeah, no, that's. I think I've heard of Galactic Heroes. It does sound like a fair recommendation, but I have one I might want to say, but go ahead. I'm still thinking for real.
Okay.
I would. Pokemon. Mike talked about Pokemon. I would
that has its moments.
I would definitely like to actually, finish watching Golf Force and Dirty Pair. At the very least.
Yeah.
Oh, plus Zillion.
Good
I gotta
deal.
finish that.
Indeed.
How about you, Jay?
Actually, looking at all the series I haven't watched yet are in the middle of. Actually, I have a series called Gatekeepers that I've been meaning to finish watching. It's a really good show. It's about it's hard to describe. But there's a bunch of kids having powers again and trying to stop this weird alien race. It's set in a weird timeline. I don't know. But I don't know if anybody heard of Gatekeepers before.
I have.
I don't think I have, actually.
Well, it's pretty good from what I've seen. I haven't finished watching it, but I own the whole series, so I've been meaning to finish that.
Fair deal, then.
Yeah. All right, Mike, what about you?
I'm going to go with this apparently pretty, rather, what's the word? Rather adult one by the name of Black Lagoon, if anyone's heard of that.
I've heard the name. I don't know anything about that.
Jay might.
I
from
know
what
the
I gather.
creature of the Black Lagoon, but that's about it.
That's completely irrelevant, unfortunately.
Tell us, Jay.
It doesn't. I do have the series, so yes, I know of it.
And would you recommend it is the question I have?
Most definitely. I haven't finished watching it. That's another one I want to finish.
Okay, sweet. Because it seems really fun and crazy, but apparently a few things about it are rather un-PC, from what I hear. Like, the character that everyone knows the most from that series, the very wisecracking, badass hot chick and very foul-mouthed Revy, she has a bad slur that she gave to a Chinese lady, if I'm not mistaken, and I'm like, how much of the series does that have something like that?
Is that in the English dub or in the original?
It is at least in the dub. I'm actually not sure if that is that way in the original language as well. That's actually a good question. Nonetheless, it does seem like a fun time. And I would like to get to it at some point. And yes, Snarb, I can highly recommend Serial Experiments Lane actually having recently done that. It's extremely weird, and I know you like weird, so... And it's also very short, at 13 episodes, and each episode is only like 20 minutes long, so yeah, totally.
Alright, so who here has seen La Blue Girl?
I've heard of it. I don't know shit about it. Is it
Yeah.
porno?
Jay knows what I'm talking
It's an-
about.
Oh yeah.
Blue girl. It's hey, wait! It's by the Urotsuki Doji guy. That says a lot, doesn't it?
There
You know,
go.
we've talked a lot about hentai on here. I've actually not seen much of that at all. The closest I've ever come is like seeing like some more, I guess you would call ecchi, like I mentioned earlier, like Plastic Little or Legend of Lemnir.
Yeah, they'd be HD for sure.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I like I said, I saw a lot of it back in the early '90s. So, but what can I say? I was also the teenage smut smuggler too. So,
And proud of it.
yeah.
That
Hey,
is very true.
how do you think I built up my Genesis library?
Well, there you have it. Got to pay the
True
bills
enough.
somehow.
Yeah, I'm just glad my parents never asked where I was getting all these games from.
That is actually pretty lucky. Yes.
That's fair.
Unlike another friend of mine who got his games through an entirely different way.
Oh, geez, yeah.
5-finger discount, dude.
Ooh. Yeah. No. Your way was actually more on the up and up, I'd say.
Still could have
Oddly
gotten me
enough.
in a ton of trouble if I'd been caught, though.
Yeah.
It's the company's fault for making you want it so much. Another Simpsons reference. Ding ding. I had to fucking do it. I'm sorry.
Well, at least it wasn't like somebody else I knew who actually had heard of what this friend was doing, attempted it himself, and was caught by Walmart security.
Oh, that really is like that episode of Simpsons then. Shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
And if I remember correctly, the game he was trying to lift from them was Final Fantasy II.
Oh.
Or
my gosh.
4 if you want to use the original numbering.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was tempted myself at one point, though.
Oh shit, really?
I
Yes.
read about this.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
See?
right.
Yeah. It was tempting.
Right.
It was very, very tempting, but I didn't do it. And if you want to read the whole
Good on
story,
ya.
get Memoirs of a Virtual Caveman. You'll see the whole thing.
Highly recommend getting the books. I haven't
Yes.
read them all yet, but get the books.
Just fucking do it, everyone.
Just do it.
Yep. And remember, I'm also selling digital copies. You can get $20 to get all 4 of them. Contact me. Because you get them directly through me. So, okay, shameless plug over.
Now back to our regular schedule program. Yeah.
I almost did also want to ask wait, did everyone go for the ones that they haven't gotten to yet?
I did.
Okay. And okay, and everyone said the okay. Well, a question I tend to ask a lot of media is one that really gets on people's nerves at some point, so I'm not sure if I should, but I am nonetheless a little curious.
Dude.
Is there any one anime series anyone would consider overrated that they've seen?
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, Case heard this bullshit before. I'm sorry.
Oh my.
Yeah. Oh, Mike is even I don't know why I'm so interested in wanting to know about subversions and takedowns of sacred cows. I guess there's just a malicious little mean streak in me, but I guess I just wanted to take this time to ask why the fuck Neon Genesis Evangelion is so big, because I don't know. I have seen the entire original series, and unfortunately I also saw the end of Evangelion, and I want my money back.
I saw the original Evangelion series a few years ago because people were telling me that I should check it out, so I checked
I'm
it
so
out.
sorry. I'm so sorry.
I've not seen the newer rebuild stuff, but I've seen everything up to that point. And yeah, I think Evangelion has its moments, but by and large, I do not care for it. It's not a series that I particularly like. I think the main thing that I got out of watching Evangelion is that now I understand like half of the memes that I see on the internet, which I did not
There you
understand before.
I kind of like the memes more than the actual series, if that's fair to say.
I'm
No, I completely agree with you. It certainly has its moments. It has some interesting concepts. I will admit that the Avas themselves and the Angels, the really fucking weird kaiju that they fight, that's really cool. I mean, it's definitely not wanting for visual appeal. And if I just want to go with like the wow, cool kaiju factor of it, then yeah, it does have some worth. But the actual notion of plot in the series is kind of lost on me. It tries to get into these kind of pretentious, like, concepts of like divinity and like ascension and all that shit, and a lot of things about the actual plot just kind of lost me, and it felt like it was just kind of trying to be weird in like a sort of elevated way, and I really didn't get it. And then I saw End of Evangelion, and I wanted to stab Hideaki Anno by the end of it, but I'm sure I've gotten threats about that before, so maybe I shouldn't say that. Anyway, that being said, I did see there are 4 of them, I believe. I did see the first 2 Rebuild Evangelion films, and I actually like those more than the series. That actually just making it a more straight adaptation of, this unlikely force fighting against these weird evil things, and just keeping it a lot more straightforward to the premise. I think cutting out the fat actually did it a lot of favors. I have yet to see the latter 2. I hear the latter 2 go in an extremely different direction from the rest of from the original series, for better or worse. And add that to the yes, I should probably see this at some point pile, but the original series is just I'm not great. I'm it's not my favorite. And yeah, Snarb, I've heard of Kill la Kill, and it gets into some kind of gross stuff down the line, from what I understand. FLCL, I did see all of that, and I don't remember much from it. I guess it was all right. That's all I can really say. It is what it is.
Cooley is strange.
Exactly.
Yeah, another kind of weird for the sake of weird series.
I personally like Kill la Kill, but there might be a couple of moments that it's strange. As for Evangelion, I don't know why I liked it so much back in the 90s. I don't like it the way I used to. It is mind-boggling of a series, and I don't know. I don't understand the hype anymore. I don't remember why.
I should know for context that I only saw Evangelion in the mid-2010s myself. I wasn't on the ground floor when it touched down in like 95 or whatever. It certainly did have a lot of hype going for it, but hype does not a great series make. And and anyone who says that you had to be there is, I think, that's mostly kind of a poor excuse for trying to say that a series that just doesn't have it is, as good as everyone says it is. So, like, I don't know.
Well, I guess, for the lack of a better term, being there is kind of a different experience, especially whenever you were watching other mecha animes such as Gundam or Macross or anything like that. Then you watch Evangelion, and then you're like, what the heck? What is this existential crisis stuff that's happening later on in the series? What is going on? You're having more questions than answers. So I guess that's the appeal of it, that you wanted to know more. But as time go on, knowing more about what the behind the scenes and everything else, and I'm like, I don't know if I like this show as much as it did back then. And there's a lot better shows out there these days. As for the rebuilds, I know quite a bit about it. The first 2 films, I think, are more or less the series, and then they go into different direction, like you said, with the other 2. So from what I understand, they're not exactly a remake. It's more like semi remake, semi sequel. I don't know. I don't know that much, but other than how it ends, yeah, it's not an easy question to answer why it was so big. Other than I think it was just way different mecha still compared to most of the things that were coming out at the time. I think.
I know nothing about the show, period. So,
if you haven't gotten into it by now, I wouldn't recommend the series. I would just stick to at least the first 2 Rebuild movies. And I would like to tell you about the latter 2, but I still didn't get to them yet, so it is what it is.
Well, I can think of one series I'd personally consider overrated, and I'm only basing this on stuff that I've seen, even though I've never watched the entire series. I've seen several episodes, and I was just like, what is the big freaking deal about this series?
Yes?
Dragon Ball Z.
I'm with you on that one so much.
Yes! Thank you, my man! Thank you! Fuck Dragon Ball Z! Thank you!
I almost managed to put Dragon Ball Z out of my memory. This is bringing back memories of me being in middle school and being the only kid in my entire class who did not like Dragon Ball Z.
Oh, yeah, I don't know why so many... Like, here's the thing. I said that for a while I really thought I wasn't an anime fan, and, like, this lasted a lot longer than I thought it should have. It just feels like every community I hang out in has, like, 95% DBZ fans, and it's like, what's the big fucking deal? It's like, I just, meh, I say.
I mean, like, that would be like saying that you don't like video games because every community that you're in has a bunch of Sonic fans.
Okay, yeah, no, that's... When you put it that way, I guess that's a little too far on my part, but...
I gotta say one thing here, though. Back when I was going to JCO, they actually did show us episodes of the original Dragon Ball series.
The original I could maybe stand to get into.
That was kind of entertaining. But Z, that was like, what the hell is this? And, I mean, I was already out of school by then, clearly. Yeah. And it was just like, okay, I recognize the kind of character designs here from other stuff I've seen. And why are these fights going on for, like, 15 months? It's like one episode is some dude giving an uppercut to some guy so powerful that he flies into the stratosphere. And the next episode he lands and dusts himself off and throws a major energy blast at the other guy. And then the next episode after that, it's just what it felt like to me.
Yeah, I mean... I think anyone who is a DBZ fan does realize that there's a lot of ironic shit watching that's kind of in there, and... I know some people who have a high tolerance for irony and watching bad things. I'm kind of thin-skinned about that. You can only consume so much media in a lifetime, and I don't want to waste any of it on mediocrity, so that's why I never really got into DBZ. I also maybe admit I'm kind of salty because there's this video game adaptation. There are a huge fuckload of video games based on DBZ. Mm-hmm. There's one back in 2018 fighting game that the Arc System Works did, Dragon Ball FighterZ, which I just kind of got swept up in the hype thinking that one would be actually pretty awesome for some reason, despite not being a DBZ fan, and I kind of spent like $90 up front on it for like the first season pass along with the main game, and I didn't love it, and then I was kind of angry at the game, and like the post DLC just added a lot of versions of Goku, which I found fucking stupid, and yeah, I kind of regret that one. Maybe I have a little bit of a personal grudge against the series, but, like, I can maybe understand why someone would like it just on a very it is what it is base level, but call me a snob, but I just want more out of my series. I'm sorry, that's really the best way I can put it.
And Sharon, Yu-Gi-Oh! I never actually really watched any of. But I will say this much, at least they put, things from Gradius into their cards. So I'll give them points for that.
If I'm not mistaken, isn't one of the cards Koitsu from Parodius?
I think so.
That's excellent.
Mhm.
The little stick guy in the paper airplane. That is the best.
And Prime, that does make sense about some of the padding, but doesn't really explain the rest of it.
I was going to say, some of the padding, sure, but like, all of that, like, I know that there was like, many years later, there was like a revised version called DBZ Kai that really cuts a lot of the ridiculous super filler out and makes it a lot more stratified, but I don't know. Even then, I'm not sure I can really bring myself to be interested in a series that's mostly pure action. And I say this as someone who really likes a lot of action cinema and media, but I don't know. I guess I prefer my action to be a little more grounded. The whole, flying around and just running into each other and midair 100 times thing usually isn't up my bag. So
Yeah, that's not my thing either.
Maybe Snarb
Yeah,
just
same.
nailed why I didn't really care for it.
it's basically anime wrestling, for lack of better comparison. That's actually a good way of putting it. Yes.
Oh my
Very much.
gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah, the last time I watched any kind of wrestling seriously was 1988. After that, I tuned out.
I was only into wrestling for like a couple of years, my latter 2 years in high school, and I have just not been able to get back into it at all since. So,
The only,
if I was going to get into DBZ, I guess the end of high school was it, but that ship's long past, and I really have no more interest now. So,
the only wrestling things that stick with me now are stuff like Step into a Slim Jim,
yeah,
Oh, wow.
or
Bonesaw. I was
so
watching,
basically, all of Randy Savage's appearances outside of the WWF.
no, I was watching the original Spider-Man the other night. So
Bonesaw's pretty great.
Not going
Yeah.
anywhere.
yeah,
But yeah, Snarb has also said that DBZ is another you had to be there kind of thing, which, again, balls. I hate that justification. I mean, you're not wrong, but at the same time, anyone who still holds it up as a decent piece of media because of that is delusional. I'm sorry. I'm sounding really aggressive. We've been at this a while. I think I'm getting salty. I'm so sorry.
I was clearly not there for that, and I also don't believe that a series with giant monkeys like King Kong had never had an ape versus ape fight. That's illogical.
Wait, really? King Kong Escapes had him fight a mechanical version of himself, though, if I'm not mistaken. Does that
I
count?
believe
Can we at least go for that?
Snarb, you're not talking about King Kong, are you?
I'm confused now. Again, we've been at this a while. I'm starting to lose it.
Oh, he's talking about Dragon Ball because they do turn into giant apes of
That
sort.
Yeah.
Wow.
Right.
Wow,
Right.
that's
I,
interesting.
I guess they never had that battle. That's actually interesting and weird.
Yeah. Oh, well. At any rate, nope.
Oh, that's what he... Yeah, you know what? That does sound like a total ripoff when you put it that way. Just watch King Kong Escapes instead. It's pretty weird, but pretty fun, if I remember.
Well, just to clarify, Mike, the only other wrestling things I really attach in my head would be Andre the Giant's turn as Fezzik in The Princess Bride.
Absolutely, totally.
The music
Nice.
video for The Goonies Are Good Enough by Cyndi Lauper.
With Captain Lou Albano, yes.
And Rowdy
Yep.
Roddy Piper. Not to mention
right.
most of the big WWF superstars of the day.
Yeah, a lot of them did cross over into a lot of other media. I mean, Sergeant Slaughter was a G.I. Joe.
That was the next one I was going to say.
Exactly. There you have it.
And finally, let's also mention the exhibition match between Rocky Balboa and
And Thunder Lips. I think Hulk Hogan's kind of canceled nowadays, but you're not wrong. It's something.
It was the 80s.
It was. Yeah.
Oh,
and
yeah.
there was time for class. I'm sorry.
No, that was the 90s.
Fuck, you're right. All right, well.
Well, don't forget, too, Hulk Hogan also had his own cartoon. Hulk Hogan was rockin' wrestling.
Oh my Jesus fucking Christ! That sounds awful.
I watched it. It was entertaining.
All about that.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess it made for a decent Saturday morning spend timer.
Yeah, exactly. It was like
okay.
It was like Hogan and all the good guy wrestlers, and they were having maybe it was some kind of a running battle about like them versus all the heels.
Please tell me that Vince McMahon was. Please tell me that Vince McMahon was the Cobra Commander type, at least.
I don't think he was even in it.
Fuck, missed opportunity. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I remember that Rubik's Cube cartoon.
Oh, Jesus, fuck. I do, too. Oh, Christ. Well, at least I remember there's, like Found Footage Festival or whatever did show off the intro of that, and it just looked like the absolute stupidest fucking thing ever.
You know, Betty saw that when she was a kid, and whenever
really?
Whenever she tried to talk to anybody about it, she told me this. Whenever she tried to talk to somebody about this, they told her she was imagining it. No way that cartoon existed. Then she meets me, and I'm like, oh yeah, I used to watch it all the time. And she's like,
oh wow.
And she's like, you mean I wasn't imagining that? Everyone else was wrong? Yeah.
You two were really destined to be together, then. That's actually pretty cute.
Yeah, I could actually confirm that cartoon existed.
To be fair, it does sound like something that's blatantly fake. I mean, I know it isn't, but I could maybe see the apprehension, but that's still unfortunate that no one understood her until you. So, but yeah, that's some weird shit, yo.
I watched a lot of cartoons when I was a kid. I mean, a ton of cartoons. So,
yep. We're getting away from anime again, aren't we?
Yeah, and it's probably for the best.
I have nothing to say about wrestling.
It's going on 12:30 anyway, so perhaps it's time to wrap this up.
Yep.
Thanks for having me on. I appreciate being on here again.
Oh, I was glad to have you, Kate.
Hooray.
Love being on here. It's great.
Glad to have you too, Jay. You're always welcome to be on if we have a subject you want to talk about.
Yeah, thank you both for providing a sane counterbalance to my weird bullshit. I felt like it just got suddenly very aggressive at the end of this, and I need to come down. I don't know what the hell's wrong with me.
Well, before we sign off,
we love you, Mike.
Oh, thank you, Kay. I love you too.
My streams wouldn't be the same without your rants.
That is true. Yes, I am I'm the Max to your Sam, if that's a fair compliment.
Yes, I think so. Why do you think
that's a great way of putting it. Yeah.
Why do you think I do my best to set you off sometimes?
Yeah. Okay.
Wouldn't be the same with that, Jay.
Aw. Thank you, Jay. Appreciate it, sir.
All right. So, what do we got in the works? That's a good question, actually. What do we have in the works? We're going to revisit music at some point.
Totally.
And
oh, shucks. Thank you, Prime. I actually do have a couple of small Snickers bars in a bowl in the room over. Maybe I could use one.
Snap into a Snickers.
That's not how that goes. That would be pretty funny, though.
We are going to touch on music again at some point. We're going to do a stream devoted to Homestar Runner.
Yep.
Because, frankly, it needs to have one.
Definitely.
We're also planning, the next one we're probably going to do is going to come early next month. It is going to be a stream about Star Trek with a couple of additional special guests.
Yes, that's going to be great.
Interesting.
So you'll be seeing, provided everyone's schedule is still clear, E.C. Myers and Earl of thelogbook.com.
Mm-hmm.
Both noted writers about Star Trek. Eugene actually had a gig he did for what used to be Tor.com, where they were doing a rewatch of the original series, and Earl has been writing about Star Trek since, God, I think even before the OPCFG existed.
Yeah, long time.
So expect that one next. So as far as what Trek, we're probably going to just talk about everything, but we may focus on one or two series in particular.
Yeah, I wouldn't be able to contribute much about the books, but most of the other series, but the actual series and movies, yeah, I got a lot to say about them.
Yeah, I'd like to stick to the series and the movies, not really go into the quote-unquote expanded universe.
Expanded universe. There has been some good and interesting video games based on the series as well, but we'd probably only just graze upon those, I'm sure.
Yeah, exactly. So
there's just so much ground to cover, so we'll stick with what the main stuff is, I think.
Yeah. So look forward to that next time. And until then, hopefully we'll see you all then, and everybody have a fun.
Enjoy.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.